Chapter 662. One after another, the corpses of Tao Lord warriors and wild beasts fell from the sky. Wild beast corpses. Tuatachi's eyes lit up as he watched the Tao Lord warriors and wild beasts fall. These are all military merits. He eagerly sent a voice transmission to Jiang Xi. Mountain Sea, hurry up. We can take advantage of the chaos to collect the Tao Lord corpses. Perhaps we'll be able to collect 10,000 corpses. That way, we'll be able to complete the military mission. Jiang Xi remained calm. Although there are more than 1 million Tao Lord wild beasts in the Congming mountain range, it's impossible for all of them to die. It'll be good enough if 30% of them die. It'll take some time to collect 10,000 Tao Lord corpses. The risk of being noticed by both sides is too great, so it's very difficult and unrealistic. If we're going to collect corpses, we're going to collect heavenly venerate corpses. Jiang Xi concluded. Tuatachi grew anxious as he watched the wild beast corpses fall from the sky. Collect heavenly venerate corpses? Mountain Sea, you're too arrogant. How strong do you think you are? Every heavenly venerate is an important expert of their respective faction. Once a heavenly venerate dies, a specialized heavenly venerate will collect the corpse. They won't give you a chance to attack at all. Do you want to snatch it from them? Do you still dare to participate in a battle between heavenly venerates when two major factions are at war? Do you know that you're courting death? Tuatachi was both anxious and furious. Jiang Xi still shook his head calmly. How foolish. Tuatachi was truly anxious. During the selection battle, he'd seen that Jiang Xi could defeat him, and that the recruits could defeat the two of them. That was why he'd followed Jiang Xi. Moreover, he'd planned to pretend to be weak and follow Jiang Xi. Once they encountered true danger, with his life-saving trump cards, Jiang Xi would definitely be the first to die. He was confident that he could escape. However, he hadn't expected Jiang Xi to be so crazy. Tu Wei no longer dared to continue following Jiang Xi. If this continued, Jiang Xi would die, and he would most likely lose his life in the chaotic battle between Empyreans. You have no idea what a disaster-level mission means. If that's the case, then we'll do our best. I'm not going to accompany you, Tu Ji said angrily. Whoosh! He quietly left and approached the chaotic battlefield in the distance. Jiang Xi didn't say anything. He just shook his head gently. After joining the army, his only companion had left. This eternal second generation has never truly trusted me. Luckily, he didn't trust me. If he didn't leave, I wouldn't be able to harvest the experience points. If the final battle hadn't suddenly erupted, they would have left Tuatachi and the two of them could still work together. Now that the situation had changed, Jiang Xi saw a good opportunity to harvest experience. With Tuatachi around, it was naturally inconvenient for him to reveal some of his tricks. Traveling alone was the best choice. Next, Jiang Xi continued to observe the situation in the bushes. At the same time, he began to change his appearance and changed into a set of 7th-tier supreme treasures, including armor, essence spirit, and offensive supreme treasures. He obtained the Qingyuan clan's clan treasure trove. Among them, there were 91 7th-tier supreme treasures. He didn't let the slaughtering shadow sword devour these 7th-tier supreme treasures. Instead, he kept them as the human race's foundation. He didn't expect that they would come in handy at this time. It's about time. Soon, when Jiang Xi discovered that the battlefield was in a stalemate, he had confidence in his heart and began to take action. There were 3 major battlefields in the entire Congming mountain range. They were the most numerous and chaotic Tao Lord battlefield, the Heavenly Venerate battlefield with 20,000 people on both sides, and the Supreme battlefield of the 6 Eternal Supremes. Among them, the Tao Lord battlefield occupied the largest area and was very scattered. In the sky, in the forest, in the lake, in the great swamp, and so on, there were Tao Lords fighting everywhere in the Congming mountain range. The battle of Heavenly Venerate experts was more concentrated, mainly concentrated in the Congming mountain range's Cliff Valley area. Because there weren't many experts of this level, the Cliff Valley area was enough for them to fight. In this area, the Tao Lord warriors and fierce beasts all avoided this area, not daring to approach. After all, if one was involved in a chaotic battle of heavenly venerates, it was very easy to die. The Tao Lord battlefield. After Jiang Xi changed his appearance, He hurried to the nearest Tao Lord battlefield. He didn't choose the Heavenly Venerate battlefield first of all. There were very few experts on the Heavenly Venerate battlefield. The tens of thousands of Heavenly Venerates in the Vortex tribe definitely knew each other. There was no way he could disguise himself as someone from the Vortex tribe. Secondly, the entire Tsongming mountain range was enveloped by eternal spacetime. He was sure that the 6 Eternal Supremes would definitely be able to pay attention to the battle on any battlefield. Even if he could disguise himself as a Heavenly Venerate expert of the Vortex tribe, once he killed a large number of Heavenly Venerate fierce beasts, he might attract the attention of the 6 Supremes. Jiang Xi didn't think that he could hide his true cultivation level in front of the Supremes. When the 6 Supremes found out that he, a Tao Lord, could easily kill Heavenly Venerates, they might investigate out of curiosity. As an outsider, Jiang Xi was most afraid of the investigation of the Eternal Supremes. It was better to be safe than sorry. What if someone recognized his true identity? Therefore, the Tao Lord battlefield was the best choice. He didn't need to expose too much of his strength to sneak into the Tao Lord battlefield and kill those Tao Lord fierce beasts. Moreover, it was safer. As long as he wasn't targeted by more than 10,000 Tao Lord fierce beasts, he wouldn't have to worry about being killed. Soon, riverward arrived at a Tao Lord battlefield. Thousands of Tao Lord warriors were fighting against wild beasts. Boom! Boom! Destructive attacks continued to erupt in this space. However, the space in the Dream Origin realm was too stable. The chaotic battle of thousands of Tao Lords couldn't tear this space apart. Kill! Roar! Scum of the Vortex tribe! The Tao Lord fierce beasts of the Tsongming mountain range and the Tao Lord warriors of the Vortex tribe were fighting in a chaotic battle. In this way, neither side had the chance to use their joint attacks. When Riverward saw this scene, he felt even more assured. Kill! Kill the trash of the Tsongming mountain range. He put on an act and let out a loud roar, then suddenly shot out of the nearby forest and charged towards the nearest Tao Lord wild beast. Roar! Even if that 2-headed fierce beast had 7 or 8 more heads, it would never think that the person pouncing at it wasn't a warrior of the Vortex tribe. Swoosh! A green sword light pierced through the beast's huge head. You killed an Aeon-level Tao Lord. Eternal experience points +6. At the same time, Jiang Xi waved his hand and put away the corpse as if there was no one else around. He also put away the corpses of the other fierce beasts around him. 10 military merits obtained. The corpse of a Tao Lord fierce beast was worth 1 military merit, regardless of level. Whether it was a desolate level Tao Lord or the strongest universe level Tao Lord, they were all worth 1 military merit. Kill! Kill all the trash of the Tsongming mountain range. Jiang Xi moved quickly and pounced on the other Tao Lord fierce beasts. Poochie! Another ferocious beast fell. You killed a universe-level Tao Lord. Eternal experience points +9 at the same time. He took away more than 10 fierce beast corpses. Brother, you're fierce. Beside him, a Vortex tribe Tao Lord warrior praised loudly. You're fierce too. Jiang Xi gave him a thumbs up and turned to continue killing the other Tao Lord fierce beasts. It was obvious that his disguise was very successful in such an extremely chaotic battle. Apart from the 6 Supremes who might have discovered him, the warriors below couldn't possibly discover that he was an imposter. I only displayed the combat strength of a first-step Heavenly Venerable. There's no lack of such genius warriors in the various special legions of the White Flame Army. Therefore, even if they discover that I'm an imposter, these Supremes won't care too much. Jiang Xi was very confident. According to the rules set by the army, the Eternal Supremes of the Dream Origin realm couldn't interfere with such training missions issued by the army. Just like that, Jiang Xi killed the Tao Lord fierce beasts, while collecting the corpses of the fierce beasts on the battlefield. Not many tribal warriors suspected his purpose of collecting the corpses. After all, there were many experts with strange fetishes. Even if someone suspected him, Jiang Xi would just casually say something, and then find an opportunity to leave and go to the next battlefield. There were battles everywhere in the Tsongming mountain range. There were too many Tao Lord battlefields of various sizes. While Jiang Xi was crazily killing the various Tao Lord battlefields, the captain of the 3rd squad, Yinji, was waiting for an opportunity with a dozen warriors in the Heavenly Venerable battlefield in the Cliff Break Valley. They were hiding in a relatively secluded bush outside the heavenly venerable battlefield. Captain is so amazing. Captain can easily obtain a heavenly venerable corpse in such a terrifying heavenly venerable battlefield. Amazing. It looks easy for Captain. If it were me, I would have died directly. These warriors were talking to each other through voice transmission, praising their captain Inji. Just now, Inji had displayed his strength and obtained a heavenly venerable fierce beast corpse in the Zhongming mountain range. First of all, they really admired their captain's strength. Second, they naturally hoped that their captain would snatch more heavenly venerable fierce beasts' corpses to help them complete their mission. Alright. The captain Inji enjoyed the praises for a while before shouting, "Alright." The other warriors might not know, but he knew very well how dangerous it was just now. Not twice. Inji's gaze swept over the warriors, directly cutting off their hopes. He said coldly, "The heavenly venerable battlefield is full of heavenly venerables." The Dao Lords of the Maelstrom tribe and the Zhongming mountain range didn't come close. I suddenly rushed in to snatch a corpse, which was unexpected. They were unprepared, which gave me a chance. If I rush in now, I'll definitely attract attacks. If I'm surrounded by several heavenly venerables. Inji shook his head. He had experienced too many missions, many military missions, and even a reincarnation-level mission. Thus, he knew very well that he should act at the critical moment. But the bottom line was that he couldn't put himself in a desperate situation and had to complete his mission first. As for the warriors following him, he could only slowly help them later. "Captain." The warriors all looked at Inji. "Don't worry, I won't not help you." Inji transmitted, "If I didn't want to help you, I would have left you behind and acted on my own. Now we have to wait. When the opportunity comes, listen to everything I say. I'll naturally help you with all my strength." "Captain, just give the order. We'll definitely obey." Although the 17 warriors said that, they were worried in their hearts. 10,000 military credits. If they were all Dao Lord beast corpses, they would need 10,000. Collecting heavenly venerable beast corpses was much less. One-step heavenly venerable corpses were worth 100 military credits, so they needed 100. Two-step heavenly venerable corpses were worth 1,000 military credits, so they needed 10. Third-step heavenly venerable corpses were worth 10,000 military credits, so they only needed 1. However, it was very difficult for a third-step heavenly venerable to die. It was completely dependent on luck. Moreover, it required extremely heaven-defying luck. Thus, they could only collect first-step and second-step heavenly venerable beast corpses. This was also very difficult. Moreover, they had a total of 18 warriors, including the captain. Even if they all collected first-step heavenly venerable corpses, they would still need 1,800. Could this heavenly venerable battlefield have so many heavenly venerable beasts? Even if it could, would the Zhongming mountain range give them a chance to collect them? Thinking of this, many warriors wanted to retreat, wanting to go to the Dao Lord battlefield and try their luck. Captain Inji glanced at them and didn't say anything, but he sneered in his heart. He was also a new recruit, so he naturally knew what his warriors were thinking. "With you cannon fodder here, once I'm surrounded by heavenly venerables, I'll still have a chance to escape." Inji thought to himself. In terms of craziness, the war between the Vortex tribe and the Zhongming mountain range was still at the Dao Lord level. This was an extremely crazy war. The total number of Dao Lords in both organizations was close to 3 million. Like a meat grinder, many weaker Dao Lords or Dao Lords with weaker defenses quickly perished. In just 3 months, nearly 1 million Dao Lords had perished. This was a form of training, a form of selection. As long as they could endure this terrifying trial, some Dao Lord warriors would quickly break through to become heavenly venerables. That idiot Mountain Sea still wants to snatch the heavenly venerable corpses? Does he really think those heavenly venerables are just decorations? Tuji mixed in with the Zhongming mountain range team, and also looked for opportunities in the various Dao Lord battlefields. Kill the bastards of the Vortex tribe. He mimicked the wild beasts of the Zhongming mountain range and constantly roared. There were other wild beasts nearby that also roared and attacked the Vortex tribe warriors. The Zhongming mountain range was very large, and there were countless Dao Lord level wild beasts. Tuji was a wild beast himself, so he easily mixed in without being discovered. However, it was a bit strange for a wild beast like him to collect the corpses of other wild beasts. Thus, he was very cautious and looked for opportunities to collect the corpses on the ground. He wasn't like Jiang Xi, who could swagger around and collect the corpses. After 3 months of killing, I only got a little more than 1,000 military credits. Tu Ji was very anxious. In this battlefield where he could die at any time, he didn't dare to be careless and could only carefully collect the corpses. At the same time, in another Dao Lord battlefield. Everyone be careful. We are all fairly strong amongst Dao Lords, but this is a terrifying battle where nearly 3 million Dao Lords are involved. We can't be the slightest bit careless. Otherwise we'll be crushed like ants. Cheng Luan led his warriors into the middle of the battlefield. They were all tribal warriors, so they naturally disguised themselves as members of the Vortex tribe. Yes, understood. We're still lacking a lot of military credits. Although they said they were careful, these warriors were very anxious. No one expected that this disaster-level mission would actually encounter such a rare super battle. Chapter 663. In this great battle, Cheng Luan's warriors, Quan Zhu's warriors, and the lone two Itachi were all trying their best to collect the corpses of the beasts in the Zongming mountain range. However, the Zongming mountain range was too big. The two super factions had close to 3 million Dao Lords. Even if 1 million died, it would not be much if they were scattered across the battlefield. How much would these warriors be able to collect in the end even if they risked their lives to collect them? Therefore, it was destined that most of them would be executed by the army for failing the mission, even if they did not die on the battlefield. On the other side of the Heavenly Venerate battlefield, Captain Yinji's side was also in trouble. After this battle lasted for half a year, the 18 warriors finally had internal strife. Captain, you are always afraid of this and that. Once this battle is over, how can we have such a good chance to collect military merits? A warrior could not help but send a voice transmission angrily. Without military merits we can only run. But the entire Dream Origin realm is under the control of the army. Where can we run to? We will still die in the end. Yes, Captain. We can't wait like this. We want to live too. We want military merits too. One warrior was anxious. The other warriors could not help but look at Yinji. Yinji looked at them coldly. He knew that his subordinates were really anxious. He had already obtained 4 second-step Heavenly Venerates and more than 10 first-step Heavenly Venerates. After conversion, it was more than 5,000 military merits. As long as he worked harder, he could complete the mission. However, these warriors' military merits were still far away. My continuous attacks in the past half a year have attracted the attention of those Heavenly Venerates. If we rush in now, we will definitely be killed. Let's wait. Yinji said indifferently. We know that is suicide, so we will not go there. However, there are countless Dao Lords fighting in other places. Those are all military merits. As long as we have enough time to collect them, we can definitely collect enough military merits. Moreover, our chances of survival on the battlefield are much higher. Yes, Captain. Let's go to the battlefield. The soldiers were all looking at their captain to attract attention. Go to the more chaotic battlefield to collect corpses? How long will that take? Yinji sneered. If you want to go, just go. I won't stop you, but at the critical moment, I will contact you and tell you my coordinates. You must come at that time, otherwise. Understood, Captain. Captain, don't worry. Then let's head off to the Dao Lord battlefield. One by one, the soldiers responded and slipped away. In just a few moments, only Captain Yinji was left. In the face of death, it seems like you've been forced into a corner. Yinji sneered and shook her head. In his heart, he looked down on these warriors. However, they were still warriors of a special legion. When they joined forces, they could still erupt with a certain amount of combat power. They could block the attacks of some celestial venerables for him. Over the past 6 months, he had used these subordinates to block the attacks of Heavenly Venerates and plunder the corpses of Heavenly Venerates from the Heavenly Venerate battlefield. Let's stop for another month and summon them back before making our move. Yinji thought in her heart. According to his plan, he had to collect 10,000 military merits within a year. Otherwise, there would be changes in this war. In the sky above the Zongming mountain range, Waves of powerful fluctuations constantly spread out and covered the entire eternal spacetime. But in fact, on this battlefield, the 6 Eternal Supremes of the Zhongming mountain range and the Vortex tribe were not fighting. They were just standing in the air. Zhongming, the 3 of us still can't defeat you. How many times has it been? The patriarch of the Vortex tribe sighed softly. Zhongming, who had a body similar to an octopus but 9 beautiful heads, chuckled. 9 spirals, you're very powerful. In the entire Dream Origin sector, there aren't many Eternal Supremes who have the strength to fight with me. Of course, if the 4 Supremes of the Vortex tribe come and perform your joint attack, I'm afraid I'll also. Huh. He's still alive? Suddenly, the 6 Eternal Autarchs all turned to look at one of the Tao Lord battlefields below. What a strong body. He actually withstood the joint attack of more than 1,000 Tao Lord beasts. Several Eternal Supremes praised. As Jiang Xi expected, all the movements on the battlefield were under the control of the 6 Eternal Supremes. Look, although his sword technique is only at level 7, it's very mysterious. If he keeps going, he might be able to walk the eternal path of sword technique. The most important thing is his body. It's too strong. I'm afraid it's comparable to a level 7 supreme treasure. No wonder he's safe and sound in the various Tao Lord battlefields for half a year. This recruit must be specially trained by the White Flame Army. Yes, I'm afraid he's already on the list. The Eternal Supremes made another round of judgment. The strongest Zhongming praised. He's definitely a rare peerless genius in the long history of the Dream Origin sector. As long as he has enough time to grow, he'll definitely enter the elite ranks in the future. Elite ranks? The other 5 Eternal Supremes were surprised. The elite ranks didn't represent strength, but talent. They all knew that the godly king who created the Dream Origin sector wanted to select the elites. It could be said that entering the elite ranks was the dream of every expert in the Dream Origin sector. Even the 6 Eternal Supremes weren't qualified to enter the elite ranks. Tao Lords, Heavenly Venerables, Supremes, experts at each level had their own elite ranks. The lower the strength, the higher the requirement to enter the elite ranks. Of course, if one could become a Chaos Origin Divine General, he would be at the same level as the generals of the 4 armies and would automatically be a member of the elite ranks. He could wait for the godly king's summons to fight outside the realm at any time. What a pity. If the godly king is still here, these genius experts of the elite ranks, I believe the great godly king won't just disappear like this. Yes, the godly king will return sooner or later. After a moment of depression, the 6 Eternal Supremes' eyes were filled with hope and fighting spirit. In the sky above a barren forest in the Zhongming mountain range. Roar! Kill that hateful warrior of the Whirlpool tribe. How dare he steal my brother's body? Thousands of huge Tao Lord level beasts chased a figure in front of them like a torrent. But gradually, the distance between the two sides widened until it disappeared. Only then did the angry beasts turn around and return to the battlefield to continue fighting. Damn it! Jiang Xi's figure appeared in a large swamp. He was indeed in a sorry state just now. Because he was worried that his true identity would be exposed, he had not used his full strength. And those thousands of Tao Lord level beasts, after using a joint attack, could actually threaten a second step Heavenly Venerate. Fortunately, his body was strong enough. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for him to escape just now. However, I've only been besieged once in half a year. My luck is not bad. I've completed my military merits early. Jiang Xi estimated that he had collected more than 100,000 beasts' corpses from the various Tao Lord battlefields. These are only secondary. The most important thing is the experience points. Eternal experience points, 51,589 yuan in the past half a year. He had disguised himself as a warrior of the Whirlpool tribe and wandered around the various Tao Lord battlefields. He had killed more than 6,000 eternal experience points and obtained more than 50,000. It's not over yet. Jiang Xi continued to head to the next Tao Lord battlefield. He had no intention of resting. It was a race against time. This was because he could sense that this war was moving from the stalemate stage to the end stage. Once this opportunity to harvest experience points was gone, who knew when he would get another chance to do so again? Soon Jiang Xi arrived at a Tao Lord battlefield at the peak of a mountain. Kill! As usual, he imitated the warriors of the Whirlpool tribe and directly pounced on a Dao Lord-level beast. Chi! A black and white sword light erupted, and the huge beast died. You killed a Universe Realm Dao Lord. Eternal experience points plus 9 yuan then. Zhang Xiai waved his hand and collected the corpses of the other beasts around him. At this moment, a group of warriors of the third squad was hiding in the forest below. They were the ones who had followed Lingji earlier. So strong. He killed a Universe Realm Dao Lord with one strike. He's even stronger than the captain. He's also collecting beast corpses. He must be a warrior of our third squad. Who is it? He changed his appearance. This strength is definitely not Chengluan, let alone Beast Quanzhu and the others. Could it be him? The appearance of that recruit appeared in the minds of many warriors. This was because the 37 warriors of the third squad were all very familiar with each other and knew the approximate strength of the other warriors. Even the captain, Lingji, could not kill a Universe Realm Dao Lord with one strike. Then it could only be the two recruits who had just joined the squad. As for Tu Wei, he was a ferocious beast and could not transform into a tribal warrior. There was only one possibility. This person was the new recruit Mountain Sea. I Mountain Sea am slightly stronger than Tu Wei. I'm good at close combat and belong to the agile type. They recalled what Zhang Xiai said when he first joined the squad. Slightly stronger? This is called slightly stronger? He's directly a major realm stronger. Some warriors were shocked. A Dao Lord comparable to a heavenly venerable? Even in the entire White Flame army, there weren't many people with such talent, right? Next, these warriors who had originally planned to collect beast corpses did not go out for the time being. Instead, they continued to observe. Not long after, they saw Zhang Xiai, who had changed his appearance, leave this Dao Lord battlefield. Did you guys notice? How many beast corpses did he collect in a while? More than 600. Excluding the time he spent traveling between the various Dao Lord battlefields, how many beast corpses should he have collected in the past half a year? It's definitely more than 10,000. 30,000, 60,000? 90,000. These warriors guessed, their eyes shining. Thinking about it, it was pitiful. Most of them did not have any military merits. Even if they did, they only had dozens or hundreds of military merits. At this moment, when they discovered that someone had already completed the mission and collected beast corpses, the number of beast corpses far exceeded their imagination. Greedy thoughts surfaced in their minds. Then, some warriors directly reported this matter to their captain, Lingyi, through the military's communication means. Captain, we just discovered that the new recruit Mountain Sea has probably collected tens of thousands of beast corpses. Hurry up and follow him. Lingji hurriedly replied. Captain, we're not confident in killing the new recruit Mountain Sea. He's very strong. I know. Since he can collect so many beast corpses, his strength is naturally not weak. But what he's most afraid of now is being exposed. As long as we follow him and threaten him, forcing him to hand over a large number of beast corpses, he'll be able to keep some for himself. If he's willing to hand them over, we'll let the Zongming Mountain Range's celestial venerables know where he is. Then he'll be dead for sure. Captain, you're right. This method is feasible. Yeah, it'll be very difficult for us to collect military merits. Since we're going to die anyway, we might as well threaten him and drag him down with us. I estimate that he has at least 50,000 beast corpses. As long as he hands them over, we'll split them and collect some more from the battlefield. That'll be enough for several of us. The warriors seemed to have grasped some hope in the desperate situation and were filled with fighting spirit. In their despair, they automatically ignored some dangers and made the most irrational decision. They quietly headed in the direction that Zhang Xiai had left. However, after a long time, we can't find him. The new recruit Mountain Sea disappeared. We can't find him at all. He must have hidden in the army of the Vortex tribe and mixed in with a large number of Dao Lord warriors. We can't detect him. It must be. These warriors, including Yinji who had just arrived, guessed that Zhang Xiai must be hiding. Continue searching. He won't hide for long. Yinji ordered. He also wanted to complete the mission as soon as possible. As long as he could find the new recruit Mountain Sea and obtain the beast corpses, it would be enough. You want to stop me? Zhang Xiai sneered. At this time, he had indeed mixed in with a large army of the Vortex tribe. When he was fighting on the battlefield of the Tao Lord, he had noticed the group of warriors in the forest. At that time he did not pay attention to them. Later, when he saw that group of warriors following him, he knew that he had been targeted. That was why he turned around and came to a temporary camp of the Vortex tribe. This was where the tribe's warriors rested and reorganized. There were more than 100,000 warriors gathered here. Once he mixed in, no one would be able to find him. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Xi had mixed in with the Vortex tribe's army for half a month with his strength. It was naturally very easy for him to move around in this camp. Let's go. Battle. The army set off and split into several groups to rebuild the battlefield of the Tao Lord. Jiang Xi also set off. Half a day later, he followed a group of more than 10,000 Tao Lord warriors and encountered a group of beasts. Kill. Kill all the trash in the Congming mountain range. The two sides instantly engaged in a fierce battle. After resting for half a month, it was as if everyone had been revived and all kinds of destructive attacks erupted. Jiang Xi only fought for a short while before his speed suddenly decreased. He glanced around and found a tribal warrior staring at him. Mountain Sea. The tribal warrior's mouth moved. Although there was no sound, the meaning was obvious. He recognized Jiang Xi. It's Yinji's warrior. Jiang Xi also recognized him. Our chances of survival are very small to begin with. If you force us, we will die together. Even if we die, we will drag you down with us. The other warriors stared at Jiang Xi as well. Then you can all die. Jiang Xi shook his head calmly. After speaking, he turned and roared. Kill the trash of the Congming mountain range. Swoosh. He transformed into a streak of light and pounced towards a distant Tao Lord wild beast. The 18 warriors, including the captain, couldn't believe it. They didn't expect that this recruit was not afraid at all. Did this recruit really think that he could escape the encirclement of so many Tao Lord wild beasts alone? However, although these warriors from the special army were shocked, they reacted very quickly when Jiang Xi turned and moved. They moved almost at the same time. Not giving us a way out. Recruit, you can go to hell too. If we die together. Damn you, Mountain Sea. You forced us to do this. Some warriors went crazy and charged towards Jiang Xi with ferocious expressions. However, Riverward, who was in front of him, sneered. Boom! He accelerated and displayed the speed of a first-step Empyrean, leaving these warriors far behind. You want to threaten me with this little ability? Jiang Xi didn't take it to heart at all. Mountain Sea, don't even think about escaping. Yinji's eyes were filled with killing intent. He was the fastest and could barely catch up with Jiang Xi. He originally thought that this recruit would have some scruples. Then, he could use this opportunity to obtain a large number of beast corpses from the recruit. However, the reality was beyond his expectations. This Mountain Sea recruit actually ignored their threats. You want to escape? A pair of black wings appeared on Yinji's back, and his speed suddenly increased. Whoosh! At the same time, countless black energy threads quickly enveloped Jiang Xi in front of him. After the energy threads erupted, they actually exceeded the speed of a first-step Empyrean. Jiang Xi only felt the world suddenly darken as he was enveloped by these energy threads. Get lost. The 7th-tier treasure sword in his hand drew an arc, and the surging energy in his body instantly erupted, forcing these energy threads back. However, there were too many of them. Almost instantly, they interweaved into a huge black ball that completely enveloped Jiang Xi. It's so tough that it can only be broken by a second-step Empyrean. Jiang Xi frowned. He still underestimated the strength of Captain Yinji. It seemed that he had some trump cards to be a captain in a special troop. That pair of black wings was an extremely special 7th-tier treasure. Although the surrounding warriors of the Whirlpool tribe were a little confused about the instant fight between Yinji and Jiang Xi, they just glanced at it and didn't pay much attention to it. This situation was too common. Most of the time, it was caused by personal hatred or fighting over the spoils of war on the battlefield. Captain's black cloud wings are really powerful. Black cloud wings is a special 7th-tier treasure. It can fly very fast and has the ability to bind. It's an excellent treasure for escaping and protecting one's life. It's said that the military merits required to exchange for this treasure are almost comparable to that of an 8th-tier treasure. The warriors under Inji were very envious. At this moment, boom! The black ball formed by countless energy threads suddenly began to fly toward the distant sky at a terrifying speed. On the surface of the black ball, one could clearly see that there was a bulge. Jiang Xi was flying at high speed inside, bringing the entire ball with him. Don't even think about escaping. Inji controlled his black cloud wings and wanted to drag Jiang Xi and the black ball back. Chi, however, he couldn't be dragged at all. Instead, he was brought along to the sky. What? Inji was shocked. Such a strong force. Although the black cloud wings binding ability was strong, his strength was not as good as Jiang Xi's. How could he drag him back? Whoosh whoosh. The black ball's speed continued to increase. Captain, didn't you want to report me to the 2 Empyrean-level beasts? Let's go. We'll go see them together. Jiang Xi transmitted his voice. His speed was still increasing. In the distance, there were 2 Empyrean-level beasts. Stop! Stop! Inji roared. Do you want to die? Haha. Let's go see the Empyrean-level beasts together. Let's see who dies first. Jiang Xi laughed. Inji finally panicked. He had a guilty conscience. He also had the corpse of a beast, and it was at the Empyrean level. If the Zhongming Mountain Range's beasts knew about it, they would tear him to pieces. You're ruthless enough. Inji was shocked and angry, but he could only give up helplessly. The black cloud wings on his back trembled and withdrew the countless energy threads. The black ball that wrapped Jiang Xi also quickly disappeared. Whoosh! And Jiang Xi, who had escaped, just waved his hand and left with a smile. Inji stood in midair and watched this scene. He gritted his teeth and was secretly resentful. You can escape once. I don't believe that you can escape again. In the sky above the Zhongming Mountain Range, the 6 Eternal Supremes of the 2 super factions were watching the battles below. He actually resolved the predicament just like that? Strong, smart, and courageous. It's rare. This warrior's combat experience is surprisingly high. Several Eternal Supremes judged. The strongest Zhongming also sighed. I'm really looking forward to what heights he will reach when he grows up in the future. The Eternal Supremes controlled the entire battlefield and naturally knew everything that happened. Every move of Jiang Xi's entire team was under the control of these 6 Supremes. And these Supremes could only watch and could not attack. They did not dare to attack because this was the rule of the Dream Origin realm. Time passed and a month passed. The war between the 2 super factions was coming to an end. How can we not find him? On a Dao Lord battlefield, the captain, Inji, was very angry and unwilling. Although the Zhongming Mountain Range is vast, the number of Dao Lord battlefields is limited. Where can he hide? Yes, after such a long time, we haven't found him even once. Captain, we really can't find him. The other warriors also contacted Inji through the army's communication system. Since the last time they met, half a year had passed, and they had not found that recruit even once. It's impossible that we can't find him. He's in the Zhongming Mountain Range. Find him quickly if you don't want to die. The hope of completing the disaster-level mission is on him. Inji was also anxious. In order to find that recruit, he had wasted a lot of time, resulting in his own military contributions not reaching the required level. I don't believe it. Inji gritted his teeth. I can only tell the 2 of them. Chengluan Quanju, let me tell you something. Half a year ago, we found that the recruit of the Mountain Sea tribe might have collected close to 100,000 dire beast corpses from various Dao Lord battlefields. And he's hiding in one of the Dao Lord battlefields. Inji directly transmitted the news. Not only did he transmit the news to Chengluan and Quanju, but also the other warriors of the 2 teams. Now, except for Jiang Xi, all the warriors of the 3rd team knew this news. What? Impossible. That recruit could collect close to 100,000 Dao Lord level dire beast corpses? That's crazy. The warriors replied to their captain in this way. It's up to you whether to believe it or not. This is the news. I've been tracking him for a long time. That recruit is very good at hiding. Inji was too lazy to say more. He believed that under the threat of a failed mission, these warriors would definitely do everything in their power to find that recruit. That way, the chances of finding him would greatly increase. Yinji's eyes turned cold. Given the strength of the Mountain Sea tribe, even if Cheng Luan and Quan Zhu work together, they still won't be able to win. At most, they'll help me find that recruit. When the time comes, those dire beast corpses will all be mine. He didn't care about the warriors of Cheng Luan and Quan Zhu at all. At this moment, the dire beast warriors of the third team, Quan Zhu, were mixed in with the dire beast army of the Deep Sea Mountain Range. It's been so long, but we've only collected 20,000 corpses. That's only enough to guarantee that 2 of us can complete the mission. And from the looks of it, the war has already begun to slow down. It won't be long before it ends. So, regardless of whether or not that recruit has collected that many corpses, we have to track him down. He's our only hope to complete the mission. Quan Zhu transmitted to his subordinates. Track him down. Track down the recruit. Whether or not we can complete the mission will depend on this. All of the dire beast warriors had gone mad. They had gone mad in the face of death. Cheng Luan's warriors were mixed in with the Whirlpool tribe's army. We've collected more than 30,000 dire beast corpses, but it's far from enough. Once the war ends, it'll be impossible for us to collect another 10,000 corpses. Find the recruit. Although Cheng Luan was kind, he would still grab the last straw in the face of death. In the dire beast army of the Deep Sea Mountain Range, Itachi also received a message from his captain. The Mountain Sea has close to 100,000 dire beast corpses. Itachi was shocked. He couldn't believe this news. He didn't believe it, and he didn't want to believe it. I've worked hard for a year, and the number of dire beast corpses I've collected is still far from 10,000. He alone has so many. Itachi's face was filled with disbelief, but in his heart, he knew that this was probably true. His captain wouldn't joke about this. Regret. This was Itachi's current mood. Extreme regret. If I'd chosen to collect with him and didn't leave immediately, there are so many dire beast corpses. I don't need too many. Just give me 10,000 corpses. Itachi smiled bitterly. He was filled with unwillingness. He now understood that Zhang Xi had said that he was collecting heavenly venerable level dire beast corpses to scare him away. If he had been more courageous, perhaps he wouldn't have fallen into this predicament. Chapter 665. The warriors of Squad 3 were searching for Shanhai. However, no matter how hard they searched, they could not find him. It was as though Shanhai had left Songming Mountain Range. They're all looking for me? Zhang Xi had changed his appearance and aura again. He blended into the Whirlpool tribe's army and looked at the barbaric and burly warriors. He even saw a few tribal warriors disguised as luring Ji. However, none of them could recognize him. Keep searching. You won't find me no matter what. Zhang Xi was very relaxed. His spiritual senses were close to a third step heavenly venerable. Although he could not search the entire Songming Mountain Range because of this eternal space-time, he could easily scan the surrounding battlefield. Under such circumstances, none of the warriors of Squad 3 could get close to him. Suddenly, Zhang Xi received another message on his military communication token. Shanhai, it's me, Itachi. Oh, Itachi? Zhang Xi replied, how's it going? Have you accumulated enough merit points? No, it's difficult to gather 10,000 beast carcasses, Itachi replied quickly. Tuji quickly responded, Shanhai, I just received news that Captain Cheng Luan and Quan Zhu are all looking for you. They want to get the corpses of the beasts from you. Moreover, they think I'm on the same side as you. I'm being ostracized by them. Is that so? Zhang Xi replied casually. Shanhai, we joined the Great Yan Army at the same time and we're both new recruits. I'm still lacking a lot of merit points, but I don't ask for much. Can you help me gather 10,000 Dao Lord level beast carcasses? I can trade with treasures. My father is the Wilderness Lord of Scarlet Swallow, and I have many treasures. I won't let you lose out. Itachi sent another message anxiously. In Itachi's opinion, he and Zhang Xi were both new recruits. Moreover, he could trade with treasures. It should not be difficult for him to obtain the carcasses. Trade? Of course. However, do you want me to trade with you in Songming Mountain Range? Jiang Xi replied. Tuatachi immediately understood. Shanhai would never reveal his whereabouts. Naturally, he would not trade with him. Then we'll change when we return to the barracks. Tuatachi hurriedly replied. Deal. However, you have to bring out a treasure of sufficient value when the time comes. If it's not up to my standards, then that won't do. Jiang Xi replied once more, of course, of course. Tuji breathed a sigh of relief. In order to survive, he was willing to give up all his treasures. If he couldn't complete the task, then even if his father was an eternal supreme, he would still have to die. After all, his father, the Scarlet Swallow Desolate Lord, had so many children that they could form a new tribe. He was just one of the children that was not valued. A few days after Tuji contacted Jiang Xi, Chang Luan and Quan Zhu also contacted Jiang Xi. However, Tuatachi was very sensible and knew to take the initiative to exchange supreme treasures. For example, Quan Zhu's group of dire beast warriors did not have many treasures on them, so they could not withstand Jiang Xi's pressure and directly collapsed. Don't take me for a fool. Doing business with you outside the military camp? Haha, then wait for your death. After Jiang Xi replied with a message, no matter how Quan Zhu tried to communicate with him, he did not respond. It was charity. He had to give some to them so that they would have the right to live. How dare they negotiate with him? Then go to hell. The war between the Songming Mountain Range and the Whirlpool tribe lasted for a whole year. In the end, the 6 supremes appeared one by one. Soon, the army of the Whirlpool tribe began to retreat. Boom! The Songming Mountain Range, which was originally enveloped by the eternal spacetime, returned to normal. Let's go. The mighty army of the Whirlpool tribe broke through the sky and left. The members of the 3rd squad, who were disguised as warriors of the Whirlpool tribe, had already quietly hidden at the edge of the Songming Mountain Range. We haven't collected enough military merits. The warriors of the 3 squads, Yinji, Changluan, and Quan Zhu, watched the army of the Whirlpool tribe leave unwillingly. The war was over, and they no longer had the opportunity to fish in troubled waters. The next step would be difficult. Snatch. Captain Changluan and the others must have collected a lot of military merits. Let's snatch them. That way we will have a chance to live. Quan Zhu led the beast warriors under him, all of them filled with murderous intent. Let's snatch the military merits. Changluan was also filled with murderous intent. If we want to live, we have to snatch them. Yinji said to her subordinates. The 3 squads unanimously chose to engage in a slaughter. Only in this way could they collect enough military merits. If the 3 squads left separately, there would probably be internal strife in the end. At this moment, at the edge of the vast Songming Mountain Range, Jiang Xi stepped on the void, moving forward step by step. Every step he took covered a great distance. It's time to return to the military camp. He looked back at the boundless mountain range. As for the internal strife of the 3rd squad, how many of them died, and what the outcome would be, it had nothing to do with him. He had returned with a great haul this time. Close to 180,000 Downlord level beast corpses, which is equivalent to 180,000 military merits. I should be able to exchange them for something good. Of course, the most important thing is still the experience points. Eternal experience points. 93,664 in Jiang Xi believed that this amount of experience points should be enough for him to use for a long time. Whoosh! Immediately after, when Jiang Xi was far enough away from the Songming Mountain Range, he took out a rank 7 flying treasure and rushed back to the White Flame Army camp. Half a month later, I'm finally here. Whoosh! A figure appeared out of thin air. It was Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi looked at the boundless military camp in the distance, a smile on his face. Looking down, he could see a long line of tribal warriors and beasts. They were all preparing to join the army. A year ago, he was also one of them. Now he had completed a disaster-level mission. Just as Jiang Xi returned to the military camp, outside the White Flame Army camp, there was a place where space was distorted. There were a large number of space vortexes here, all created by the Eternal Supreme of the army. Whoosh! 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 Almost every moment, a large number of warriors flew out from different space vortexes. Let's go. This mission is quite simple. Once we're done, we'll have 10,000 years of leisure time. Haha. It's wonderful just thinking about it. Sai, our next mission will be a reincarnation level mission. I wonder how many of our team will survive. I hope we can earn more military merits this time, and then exchange them for stronger life-saving items at the military supply hall to survive the reincarnation level mission. Groups of warriors, some relaxed, some serious, and some worried, left the military camp from the various space vortexes. The White Flame army was very large, and there were warriors leaving the camp at every moment. At this time, there was an ancient and thick tree a little further away from these space vortexes. On a branch of the tree, there stood an ordinary-looking Tao Lord warrior with 8 arms. I've been ordered by the Supreme to join the army. Although I have military missions, I haven't been carrying out any missions. Instead, I've been waiting here. It's been so long, but I haven't seen Tao Lord Mountain and Sea even once. The 8-armed Tao Lord warrior was anxious. At the same time, he was constantly observing those space vortexes. Tao Lord Mountain and Sea is powerful, but so what? Even if he can cultivate to eternity, the most he can do is add another Holy Land universe to the Chaos Sea. He can't threaten my Great Sky Holy Land. He couldn't understand. Once a Holy Land is formed, it will exist for eternity. My Great Sky Holy Land doesn't have to fear any experts. I don't know why the Supreme values Tao Lord Mountain and Sea so much. Even when we reached the Dream Origin sector, he ordered us to immediately find out the whereabouts of Tao Lord Mountain and Sea. The 8-armed Tao Lord warrior sighed. Although he didn't understand, this was the Supreme's order. He had to carry it out. The primordial realm's chaos sea was boundless and mysterious. Endless chaotic gray mist poured down from the abyssal fissures in the endless void, flowing into this boundless space and converging into an ocean-like world. At this moment, one of the 2 Holy Land universes, the Great Sky Holy Land, in a shrine in the Great Hammer Divine World. You still haven't found any traces of Jiang Xi? Jun Tian Supreme's tone was filled with dissatisfaction. The 4 figures kneeling below him were nervous. Supreme, according to your orders, we joined the 4 armies of the Dream Origin sector, and have been guarding the space whirlpools of each army, but after so long, we still haven't found any traces of Tao Lord Mountain and Sea. Supreme, could it be that Tao Lord Mountain and Sea hasn't joined the army? The 4 Tao Lords knelt there and asked. Since he's also involved in the Dream Origin sector with his experience and strength, he can quickly rise and even make a name for himself in the Dream Origin sector. Jun Tian Supreme looked at the 4 figures below him and said indifferently, not only do the 4 of you have to guard the space whirlpools of the army camp, but you also have to gather information frequently. Once he becomes famous, you'll be able to find him easily. Yes, the 4 Tao Lords replied respectfully. Supreme, then our army's mission. One of the 8-armed Tao Lords couldn't help but ask. Don't worry. After some time, I'll send another batch of experts from the Holy Land over. Once they join the army, you can take turns to complete the mission, Jun Tian Supreme said. Understood. Now the 4 Tao Lords felt reassured. They then left the shrine. Only the blurry figure of Jun Tian Supreme was left in the shrine. Only his gray eyes could be seen clearly, but they were filled with coldness at this moment. I thought I couldn't do anything to you, but I didn't expect a magical world like the Dream Origin sector to appear in the Chaos Sea. There are too many ways to deal with you there. Don't blame me, Jiang Xi. You can only blame yourself for obtaining the inheritance of the primordial sector, which is not accepted by the star sector. In the end, there was doubt in his eyes. What kind of existence is the Dream Origin sector? There's actually an ownerless eternal fragment. Even in the star sector and the star sector, this is a legendary thing. Could this be the reason why immortal General Qian Huan went to the depths of the ruins of myriad worlds to investigate? Universe 4 Human Territory. Jiang Xi's avatar and Tao Lord 9 Firmaments met again. Master, I just completed the army's disaster level mission and obtained a lot of military merits, Jiang Xi said with a smile. After completing this mission, I'll be safe for a long time. I'll try to figure out the mystery of the Dream Origin sector as soon as possible. No matter what, you must take care of your own safety. Tao Lord Nine Firmaments reminded, "You're the first human to enter, so your responsibility is the heaviest now. All the forces in the chaos sea of the primordial sector are focused on the dream origin sector, hoping to obtain opportunities from it. However, the dangers involved are also obvious." Jiang Xi nodded. In the dream origin sector, one would die if they were careless. Even Tao Lords would become extremely ordinary in that place. In the great battle he had just experienced, Tao Lord warriors were reduced to cannon fodder. However, with such great danger, it also meant that there was a great opportunity. In the vast chaos sea of the primordial sector, there were only 2 eternal supremes. But there were countless eternal supremes in the dream origin sector. There were no restrictions of chaos sea's heaven and earth laws. There were inheritances that could cultivate eternity, supreme treasures that were at least tier 7, and even ownerless eternal shards. Especially the eternal shards. As more and more experts joined the army in Chaos Sea, many forces knew of the existence of the eternal shards. Under such great temptations, the major forces in Chaos Sea lost interest in the original 3 perilous lands. Almost all of them sent a certain number of experts to explore the dream origin sector. "Master, there's another piece of good news. I've obtained many supreme treasures from the Qingyuan clan in the Myriad World ruins. This time, I should be able to get some supreme treasures from an eternal supremacy's child in the dream origin sector. When the time comes, I'll make a trip out and return the supreme treasures," Jiang Xi said with a smile. Tao Lord Nine Firmaments was overjoyed when he heard this. These were the foundation of the human race. The dream origin sector was the most important battlefield for the major forces in Chaos Sea. Everyone was competing there. The 4th universe was the foundation of the human race. Only when the human race's territory expanded, and there were more and more geniuses in the race would the number of experts increase. Only then could the human race in the 4th universe be comparable to the other 2 Holy Land universes, or even surpass them. Although his main body was exploring the dream origin sector, Jiang Xi's avatar was still communicating with Tao Lord Nine Firmaments frequently. He was also aware of the situation in Chaos Sea. The current Chaos Sea was unusually calm. Clearly, everyone was watching the dream origin sector. At the White Flame Legion's camp by the lake of the Great Yen Army not long after Jiang Xi returned, Tuatachi returned as well. Mountain Sea, Mountain Sea. Tuatachi's huge 8-hoofed body had shrunk to a meter long. He followed behind Jiang Xi attentively. "I've prepared the treasures. Give me a portion." "You're ready?" Jiang Xi glanced at him lightly. "Don't be in such a hurry. I'll go to the quartermaster hall first. When I return we'll have a good talk." Tuatachi's expression froze. Jiang Xi would definitely know the value of some treasures if he went to the quartermaster hall. He would most likely extort him ruthlessly. However, no matter how unwilling he was, he did not dare to argue with Jiang Xi. In the end he smiled apologetically and said, all right, I'll wait for you to return from the quartermaster hall. However, don't hand over all the corpses. You must leave me a portion." He was most worried about Mountain Sea. If Mountain Sea took out all the beasts' corpses to exchange for military credits, he could only wait for death. "Don't worry." Jiang Xi smiled and nodded. Then, he left the camp by the lake and rushed to the quartermaster hall. Ninth level Supreme Treasures. The lowest is 1 million military merits, the highest is 10 million military merits. It can only be exchanged for by special armies. Jiang Xi looked at them one by one and felt that it was crazy. 8th level and 9th level Supreme Treasures were clearly marked. However, at the back of these 2 treasures, there was a restriction that only special armies could exchange for them. He continued to read on expectantly. Eternal Supreme Treasures. The lowest is 100 million military merits. It can only be exchanged for by elites. Immortal General Supreme Treasures. The lowest is 1 billion military merits. It can only be exchanged for by elites. Phew. Jiang Xi took a deep breath. Sure enough, there were 10th level and 11th level Supreme Treasures in this world, which were Eternal Supreme Treasures and Immortal General Supreme Treasures. However, what kind of existence was the elite? Jiang Xi was puzzled. This was the first time he heard of this term in the Dream Origin realm. I want to know more about the elite. Jiang Xi looked at the golden figure in front of him. 10,000 military merits, the golden figure said. Fuck. Jiang Xi stared at him. So ruthless. The disaster-level mission of the third squad required only 10,000 military merits. Seemed that this was really important information. Change it. Jiang Xi did not hesitate. Whoosh. The golden figure waved his hand and a scroll appeared in front of Jiang Xi. There were shining runes on it recording secret information. Elite. Jiang Xi looked at it seriously and soon understood the meaning of this term. If the Tao Lords, Celestial Masters, and Eternal Supremes in the Dream Origin realm were outstanding enough to reach the limit of each level, they were qualified to enter the elite of each level. Of course, they were only qualified. This was a kind of honor and also represented status. Once they entered the elite, their status in the Dream Origin realm would be elevated to a higher level. For example, Celestial Masters in the elite were comparable to Eternal Supremes in status. And Eternal Supremes in the elite were comparable to Chaos Origin Immortal Generals in the 4 armies. However, the conditions to enter the elite were very strict. The lower the level, the higher the difficulty. For countless years, there were only a few experts who could enter the elite. For example, Celestial Masters. Since His Majesty the Deity King disappeared, no Celestial Masters could enter the elite. As for the more difficult Tao Lord level, since the Dream Origin realm was created, not a single Tao Lord could become an elite. However, despite the high difficulty and harsh conditions, every 10,000 years, many warriors in the Shield Mountain Army, White Flame Army, Styx River Army, and Green Wind Army would try their best to enter the elite. Jiang Xi finished reading and frowned. Trying to enter the elite, could it be? He looked at the golden figure in front of him and asked, "Is there a mission to enter the elite?" "Yes," the golden figure said. "What mission?" Jiang Xi asked. If possible, he would like to give it a try for the Eternal Supremes and Immortal General Supremes. If he really entered the elite, he would be qualified to exchange for them. As for the difficulty, Jiang Xi was confident in himself. After all, he was 8 Clouds' inheritor and had a godly king's inheritance. Warrior of the Great Yin Army, you're a Tao Lord. If you want to enter the elite, there are 2 paths, the golden figure continued. Riverward hurriedly listened carefully. The first path has 2 conditions. As long as you meet them, the 4 great generals will come and verify it. Once you pass, you'll enter the elite. First, you must reach the limit of a Tao Lord. This limit includes your body, nascent divinity, and Grotto Heaven World. The golden figure said. Jiang Xi nodded. He had met this condition, especially the Grotto Heaven World. The limit of a Tao Lord's Grotto Heaven World was 10 billion light-years in diameter. He had reached it with the help of the Eternal Shard. The Dream Origin realm also had Grotto Heaven Worlds and universes. However, their Grotto Heaven Worlds and universes were in the origin of the Dream Origin realm. Although they existed, they could not enter them. The second is to deduce the Heavenly King chart. You must deduce all 36,000 transformations of the Heavenly King chart within 30,000 years. If you meet these 2 conditions, you'll enter the elite. Moreover, you'll have many privileges in the Dream Origin realm. Your status will be higher than ordinary elites. You'll be on par with the 4 great generals. The golden figure said in one breath. Riverward's eyes widened when he heard this. He was truly stunned. The first thing that shocked him was that the Dream Origin realm knew about the Heavenly King chart. This meant that this place was related to the primordial realm. The second thing that shocked him was that the condition was too crazy. Deduce all 36,000 transformations of the Heavenly King chart within 30,000 years? When he received 8 Clouds' inheritance, he only managed to deduce close to 20,000 transformations. The further one progressed, the more difficult it would be to deduce the Heavenly King chart. The time required would also increase by leaps and bounds. Even now, Jiang Xi was not confident that he could deduce all 36,000 transformations in 30,000 years through the experience panel. Who set this condition? Jiang Xi could not help but ask. The great deity king set it himself. The golden figure said. Jiang Xi took a deep breath. Through this, he had a vague intuition the deity king of the Dream Origin realm seemed to be stronger than the 8 Clouds deity king, who left behind 8 Clouds' inheritance. In other words, he was even crazier. At the same time, he also understood that it was impossible for him to enter the elite ranks through this path. Didn't you say that there were two paths? Jiang Xi asked again. The deity king knew that the first path was too difficult. Therefore, he left behind the second path, which is relatively easier. The golden figure said coldly. The second path is the elite mission. Any Dao Lord warrior can apply for it. When the mission starts, you'll know the content of the mission and complete it. Once you complete it, you'll also enter the elite ranks. However, the treatment and status you'll receive will be slightly worse than the first path. Elite mission. Jiang Xi nodded slightly. He could understand this. The army of the Dream Origin Realm was a competition and selection method to raise venomous insects. The selection process was to train and select the best warriors through missions of various difficulty levels. It was the same for the elite missions. What's the mortality rate? Jiang Xi asked. The elite missions are held once every 10,000 years, the golden figure replied. As long as the Dao Lord warriors of the four great armies apply for this mission, they'll complete it together. Under normal circumstances, the mortality rate is about 90%. The remaining 10% can barely survive, but that's all. Up until now, no Dao Lord warrior has ever completed the elite missions. Jiang Xi was speechless. The second path was also difficult. Even if the last 10% could survive, they would still be considered failures. What's the mission content? Jiang Xi asked again. Warrior of the Great Yin Army, you only need to apply for the mission. When the next elite mission starts, you'll know the mission content, the golden figure said. A reminder. You've just joined the army. You should train and improve your strength. It's best if you can go through several reincarnation level missions. It won't be too late to accept the elite missions after that. Jiang Xi nodded. Then he looked at the third exchange scroll. There were only simple words on it. Eternal Shard. 100 military points per shard. Only available for exchange in special armies. Jiang Xi had already known about the Eternal Shards to him. 100 military points per shard was not as cost-effective as exchanging for supreme treasures. After exchanging 10,000 military points for the information about the elite missions, he still had 158,541 military points left. In other words, he could only exchange for 1,585 Eternal Shards at most. If this were in the past, Jiang Xi would have been tempted. However, after returning from the Zhongming mountain range, he had obtained more than 90,000 Eternal EXP. In the end, Jiang Xi chose to exchange for 15 of the cheapest Tier 7 Supreme Treasures. Naturally, his goal was to improve the grade of the Killer Shadow Sword. At the lake camp of the Great Yin Army, on the island that belonged to Jiang Xi, an 8-hoofed beast was hovering in the air, looking anxiously into the distance. It was anxiously waiting. Why isn't he back yet? It'll take him half a month to go to the quartermaster hall. It's almost been a month. Shanghai, please don't exchange all my corpses for military points. My life is in your hands now. I have many treasures with me. I'm willing to give them all to survive. Tuatachi kept muttering to himself. He was anxious and worried. Suddenly, his eyes brightened when he saw a figure in the distance. Shanghai. Tuatachi teleported over enthusiastically. Don't worry. Let's go down and talk. Jiang Xi smiled. All right. Tuatachi hastily nodded. Jiang Xi flew to the island below. Tuatachi hastily followed him. This island is well decorated. Tuatachi looked around. Everything looks natural. It looks simple, but if you look at it carefully, there's a special charm to it. This was set up by the previous warriors. I'm lazy, so nothing has changed. Jiang Xi sat down on a chair in front of the stone house. Chapter 667. Tu Shi brought out an armor treasure that was covered in blood-red scales. At the same time he said, "This is the grade 7 armor treasure I wore before I joined the army. It's slightly better than the standard armor of the Great Yin Army." As he spoke, he observed Jiang Xi's expression. However, Jiang Xi's expression did not change at all. He was calm. When Tuatachi saw this, he was not surprised. Normally, the corpses were worthless. However, these 10,000 corpses represented a chance of survival. It was impossible for him to exchange a 7th-tier defensive treasure for his life. This is a grade 7 flying treasure that my brother gave me when I left the Great Scarlet Swallow Wilderness. Tuatachi gritted his teeth. Clearly this treasure was very valuable. Swoosh! An ancient golden flying boat landed at the side. Jiang Xi only glanced at it. His expression did not change. When Tuatachi saw Jiang Xi's reaction, he immediately became anxious and hurriedly reminded him, "This is a very special grade 7 flying treasure. It has the special ability to tear through space. It can break through the space-time shackles of a 3-step heavenly venerable. Its true value surpasses many grade 8 treasures." Jiang Xi was expressionless, but he muttered inwardly, "As I expected, this eternal second generation must have something good on him since he was allowed to roam the world. In terms of value, this grade 7 flying boat is worth more than the grade 7 treasures I have. However, I still have to suppress it a little. This is definitely not his limit." When Tuatachi saw Jiang Xi's silence, he became even more anxious. "These are the treasures I collected in the Tsangming mountain range. They're all here." He waved his hand again, and thousands of treasures below grade 7 appeared beside him. Jiang Xi shook his head. Not enough. He did not believe that the child of an eternal Grand Supreme would only have so few treasures. Even if he was not valued, he was still an eternal second generation. Tuatachi's expression changed. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "Shanhai, when I came out, I did bring a very valuable treasure with me. I can give this treasure to you, but you have to return the flying boat to me." Jiang Xi smiled. Since Tuatachi dared to say that, this treasure must be more valuable than the flying boat. "Show it to me." A moment later, the transaction was completed. "Shanhai, I won't disturb you any longer." Tuatachi left with the 10,000 corpses. He was not dissatisfied. Although he had paid a huge price, he had kept his life. It was nothing to lose the treasures. As long as he was alive, he could find some time to return to the Great Scarlet Swallow Wilderness and retrieve some treasures. Riverward looked into the distance and could not help but shake his head and sigh. As expected of Wilderness Lord Scarlet Swallow's child, the treasures on a Tao Lord like him are comparable to many factions in Chaos Sea. In this transaction, he only had Shanhai's treasures heavenly venerable one time. Shanhai, 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 hi, 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 hi. Shanhai, hi, Shanhai was Shanks was Shanhai, hi, hi, Shanhai. The supreme treasures on him were either too powerful, such as the sky-reaching tower, the 8 Clouds Pavilion, and the 7-layer mountain. Either that or they were all level 7 and below, but there was no level 8 supreme treasure. 8th-stage supreme treasure, purple striped golden wings. It's a special flying supreme treasure. It's best for flying and dodging in close combat. If it's exchanged in the military supply hall, it'll probably cost 1 million military credits. Jiang Xi looked at the pair of golden wings in his hand. There were many purple patterns on them, which looked very mysterious. Cultivation technique. Purple Cloud Sword Scripture Deduction. 1 million experience points per time conversion. 1 eternal experience point equals 1 trillion experience points. 1 eternal fragment equals 1 eternal experience point. 1,841 trillion eternal experience point. 2920 The panel had changed a lot. Jiang Xi had successfully deduced 3 origins in the past 8,000 years. He had used the experience points to upgrade all 3 origins to the perfect realm. With such a realm, he could break through to the Celestial Master level at any time. However, he did not choose to break through immediately as he was waiting for the elite mission. In addition, Jiang Xi had upgraded the 2 ultimate skills of the 8 Clouds Legacy to the 3rd level. He might be able to reach the 4th level in a few thousand or 10,000 years. 8 Lives, Cloud Annihilation. These 2 ultimate skills target the body and the primordial spirit respectively. Even though I have just entered the 3rd level, the strength of my body has reached the level of a level 8 ultimate treasure, and the strength of my primordial spirit is comparable to that of a 3rd-step celestial master. With such a foundation, Jiang Xi believed that he could kill a 1st-step celestial master with 1 punch even if he was barehanded. With such strength, there was no need to fear the elite mission. Time continued to pass. The first 10,000 years of Jiangxi's stay in the Dream Origin Realm passed quickly. Primordial Realm, Chaos Sea, Myriad World Ruins. This huge abyss with a diameter of more than 300 million light-years was still filled with the energy of the fusion of wind and fire. Since the experts of various forces who were wandering in the Myriad World Ruins were drawn into the mysterious Dream Origin Realm 10,000 years ago, this place had become the most lively place in the entire Chaos Sea. There were almost 100 forces in the Chaos Sea, and almost all of them had sent their experts into the Dream Origin Realm. At the same time, some of them were stationed at the edge of the Myriad World Ruins, paying attention to everything that was happening here. Swoosh! Swoosh! From time to time, rays of colorful light would streak across the void and fly into the energy of the fusion of wind and fire. Entering the Dream Origin Realm at this moment, a quaint 8-story pavilion flew over. The forces stationed here immediately recognized that it was the core of the inheritance in the 8 Cloud Ruins, the 8 Cloud Pavilion. It's the Mountain Sea Dao Lord. I heard that the Mountain Sea Dao Lord is wandering in the Dream Origin Realm. Is it his doppelganger who is controlling this treasure? Although the Mountain Sea Dao Lord is a Dao Lord, he is known as the Invincible Celestial Master. Regardless of whether it's his doppelganger or his doppelganger, we can't provoke him. The forces did not act rashly and allowed the 8 Cloud Pavilion to stop at the edge of the Myriad World Ruins. At this moment, in one of the spaces in the 8 Cloud Pavilion, the Dream Origin Realm is full of danger. After you follow me in, I will bring you directly to the camp of the White Flame Army. Then, you will participate in the army selection. You all know the danger of joining the army, so I don't need to say more. After that, everything depends on you. Jiangxi's doppelganger looked at the experts in front of him. Of course. Mountain Sea Dao Lord, sorry to trouble you. The Dao Lord spoke one after another. Jiangxi just nodded. The 8 Cloud Pavilion carried the 8 Cloud inheritance. Its value could not be measured simply by the grade of the supreme treasure. Of course, he could not bring it into the Dream Origin Realm and had left it in the 4th universe. Now, as his strength increased, both his doppelganger and his doppelganger were not afraid of any experts in the Chaos Sea. Naturally, he could bring the 8 Cloud Pavilion out boldly. After a while, whoosh! A 9-story tower emerged from the energy of the fusion of wind and fire, and stopped in front of the 8 Cloud Pavilion. It was the Heaven Connecting Tower. Let's go, Jiangxi ordered. Immediately, the Dao Lords in the human camp left the 8 Cloud Pavilion and entered the Heaven Connecting Tower. Only Jiangxi's doppelganger and Dao Lord 9 Clouds were left in the 8 Cloud Pavilion. Jiangxi, the 48 Dao Lords in the Dream Origin Realm this time are all Dao Lords of other races from the human camp. After all, they are not humans. You just have to lead the way for them from the beginning. As for the future, don't worry too much. You still have to take care of yourself. Dao Lord 9 Clouds reminded. I understand. Jiangxi smiled. At the same time, the Heaven Connecting Tower did not stop. Jiangxi's true body led the Dao Lords into the Myriad World's ruins again. Not far away, in a pitch-black flying ship, there was a Dao Lord in the form of a strange beast. After seeing this scene, its eyes flashed and it immediately followed into the Myriad World's ruins. Sovereign ordered me to wait for the experts of the human camp in the 4th universe. I really did wait. And as Sovereign expected, the Mountain Sea Dao Lord will definitely come out to receive the experts of the human camp. They are too loyal. In this case, as long as I follow closely, I will know the location of the Mountain Sea Dao Lord in the Dream Origin Realm. This Dao Lord strange beast came from the Great Sky Sacred Ground. It looked completely different from the Great Sky Race, so very few forces knew that it was an expert of the Great Sky Sacred Ground. Because they were hunted by Jiangxi previously, the experts of the Great Sky Sacred Ground no longer dared to appear in the Chaos Sea openly. They could only let this Dao Lord strange beast monitor the Myriad World's ruins. Soon the black flying ship was sucked into the Dream Origin Realm, almost at the same time as the Heaven Connecting Tower. However, I lost him. The Dao Lord strange beast in the black flying ship saw the Heaven Connecting Tower teleport away as soon as it entered. Could no longer follow. Although I lost him, this location belongs to the White Flame Army of the Dream Origin Realm. Obviously, the Mountain Sea Dao Lord has most likely joined the White Flame Army. Dao monarch exotic beast hurriedly informed the great sky holy land of this news through his clone. After the experts of the various forces of the Chaos Sea entered the Dream Origin realm, they were like a drop of water entering the vast ocean. They did not cause any commotion at all. After Zhang Xiai brought the Dao lords of the other races to the White Flame Army, he did not ask any more questions and continued his cultivation. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, another 100 years had passed. The White Flame Army's camp, the Great Yin Army's lake camp. Mountain Sea, Mountain Sea. A voice came from outside. Zhang Xiai walked out of the stone house and looked up at the sky. He saw the 8-hoofed ferocious beast, Two Weasel, flying rapidly to his island. Mountain Sea, the other warriors are preparing to go on a new mission, Two Weasel said hurriedly. There are also the 8 new recruits from the past 10,000 years. They will be participating in the mission as well. Let's hurry up and go. Although Zhang Xiai had ruthlessly slaughtered him previously, Two Weasel was still willing to team up with Zhang Xiai. This was because he knew that he could survive by following Zhang Xiai. 8 new recruits? This number surprised Zhang Xiai. The army had a mission period every 10,000 years. The new recruits who joined would have to wait until the mission period began before they would be able to participate in their first mission. However, the Great Yin Army was huge. The third squad he was in only had 8 new recruits. It was obvious that they had more recruits than the Great Yin Army. The Great Yin Army will be assigned many warriors every 10,000 years. Because our squad suffered too many losses in the previous disaster-level mission, the higher-ups mainly replenished our squad, Two Weasel explained. I see. Zhang Xiai nodded. However, Two Weasel, I have to tell you in advance that I won't be going with you this time. You won't be going with us? Two Weasel was puzzled. However, he was not worried. After the disaster-level mission, they would not receive any difficult missions for a long time. I have something to do. Zhang Xiai did not explain too much. In the Dream Origin realm, participating in an elite mission was something to brag about. However, it was not necessary for him. Chapter 668. Just like last time, they gathered at the Island of Legacy before the mission began. This time, leader Yingji's team was hostile to Zhang Xiai. Cheng Luan's team was friendly, and their intention to rope him in was obvious. Such an obvious difference in treatment made the 8 new recruits curious about Zhang Xiai. Recruits, let me remind you. After Riverward arrived at the Basic Inheritance Island, he directly ignored the group of old warriors who had attracted Ji. Instead, he said to the new recruits, Cheng Luan is not bad. You can follow her. As for the captain, if you don't want to die, don't follow him. The 8 new recruits were stunned. Mountain Sea. Yingji shouted coldly with an ugly expression. Did I say something wrong? Zhang Xiai looked at him indifferently. All the warriors in the third squad could feel the conflict between Zhang Xiai and their leader. The new recruits didn't know what was going on, but the old warriors knew. Last time at the Zongming Mountains, leader Yingji was greedy for Shanhai's military merits. After a round of encirclement, it ended in failure. The conflict between the two parties was thus settled. Except the military mission. Yingji didn't dare to fight with Zhang Xiai in the end. He had seen Zhang Xi's strength and his foundation was damaged. Naturally, he didn't want to go against Zhang Xiai. He was even a little afraid. The third squad spent almost a day shuttling through the military camp, and finally arrived at the Black Mission Hall. Boom! A beam of light enveloped all the warriors in the third squad. The other warriors all received simple missions, but Zhang Xiai received an elite mission. The Valley of the Divine King? The place where His Majesty the Divine King lived? Zhang Xiai was surprised. The location of the elite mission is there. Mission location. The Valley of the Divine King mission details. The Great Divine King left a verdant cloud building in the Valley of the Divine King. The building is 9 floors high. The mission objective is to enter the verdant cloud building and climb the floors. Mission rewards: 1. Leave the verdant cloud building alive, and you will receive 100,000 military merits. 2. Reach the 9th floor and you will enter the elite team and enjoy endless benefits. Mission punishment. None important reminder. So far, only His Majesty the Deity King has entered the 9th floor of the verdant cloud building. The participants of this mission are all top-notch Tao Lord warriors from the 4 armies of the Dream Origin realm. The death rate is 90% on average. Please be careful. Verdant Cloud Brothel? Jiang Xi wasn't concerned about the death rate. He was familiar with the name Verdant Cloud. A long time ago, when he was still in the nascent Soul Realm, he had participated in the 9 Realms Genius Tournament of the Tao Alliance. Besides, this Qingyun Road was very similar to the Lingwan Road in the Yaoqi Cave on Earth. That was why he had such a deep impression of him. Of course, this thought only flashed through Jiang Xi's mind, and he didn't think too much about it. After all, in this vast world, there were too many situations with similar names. For example, the name Shanhai could be found in hundreds and thousands of White Flame Army soldiers. Jiang Xi turned his attention back to the mission. Challenging the Verdant Cloud Pavilion might seem simple, but there's no punishment even if you fail. But in fact, an average death rate of 90% is the scariest punishment. Obviously, there was no punishment worse than death. Every Tao Lord warrior who took on an elite mission knew about this death rate. They would definitely prepare many life-saving items in advance. However, there were still so many deaths. One could imagine how dangerous and difficult it was. I can't be careless. Although I still have a clone, even if my main body dies, I won't completely die. However, I still have many important Dharma treasures like the Heavenly Tower and the Sevenfold Mountain. If I lose them all in the Dream Origin realm, it will definitely be a great loss. Jiang Xi thought. This mission is very simple. Captain Yingji's voice came from the side. As long as you recruits don't mess around, you can easily pass this mission. Last time, it was a disaster-level mission. We followed our captain and survived. You 8 recruits, hurry up and come over. We are willing to accept you. Hurry up and come over. Yingji and the warriors under his command all opened their mouths and shouted. Follow you? Even if we don't die this time, we will die in the future. Cheng Luan said coldly. She stared at Yingji's subordinates and sneered. Haven't you suffered enough? Last time, if Quan Zhu and I didn't join forces and force our captain to abandon you, do you think you can survive? The faces of Yingji and his subordinates turned ugly. The 8 recruits also hesitated. I am willing to go with Cheng Luan and the others. Tuatachi shouted. Jiang Xi, who was studying the elite mission, also turned to look. There were only 2 groups left in the 3rd squad. The captain's group and Cheng Luan's group. Now that Tuatachi had joined Cheng Luan's group, only the 8 recruits were still hesitating. At this moment, the recruits looked at Jiang Xi. They all felt that the senior warriors of the 3rd squad, be it the captain or Cheng Luan, were somewhat afraid of Jiang Xi. Go with Cheng Luan and the others. At least, Cheng Luan won't abandon you at a critical moment, because she doesn't have the strength to travel alone. Jiang Xi smiled. As soon as he said this, one of the 8 recruits who were originally hesitating walked directly towards Cheng Luan. With someone taking the lead, the other recruits followed one after another. Because they also felt that this senior warrior Shanhai with a special status made a lot of sense. In terms of strength, Cheng Luan was not as strong as the captain, and she relied more on her subordinates. Shanhai, you want to be enemies with the captain? Shanhai. Captain Yingji's subordinates were furious. Yingji didn't speak, only using his eyes to stare at Jiang Xi. Enemies with your captain? Jiang Xi looked at Yingji and chuckled. Is he worthy? The warriors instantly glared, and Yingji's expression turned ugly. Shanhai, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Tuatachi Chengluan, let's go. Jiang Xi smiled and greeted Tuatachi and Chengluan. Then, he directly walked towards the spatial whirlpool beside the Black Mission Hall. Let's go. Let's go. Tuatachi, Chengluan, and the other warriors also flew into the spatial whirlpool. The captain and his subordinates were left behind with gloomy faces. Captain, are we just going to let Shanhai go? Captain, there are less than 10 warriors on our side now, and Chengluan has more warriors. If Shanhai makes trouble again, your prestige will be gone. You can't just let him go. Captain. The old warriors all looked at the captain. Yingji's eyelids twitched, and he really wanted to slap this group of subordinates to death. Go against Shanhai? He wouldn't even know how he died. Last time in the Tsongming mountain range, only he had fought with Shanhai, and he knew Shanhai's strength. He was far from being Shanhai's opponent. Ignore him for now, Inji said coldly. Whoosh! He led the way into the spatial whirlpool, and the other warriors looked at each other, confused. Why would the proud captain be so soft on Shanhai? Was the captain really afraid of Shanhai? Many thoughts appeared in the minds of the old warriors. In an area outside the White Flame Army camp, a large number of spatial whirlpools were gathered here. Whoosh! 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 Batches of warriors appeared from those spatial whirlpools one after another, and then they left on various flying boats and supreme treasures. An 8-armed Dowlord was standing atop an ancient tree not too far away from this region, staring intently at the spatial vortices. There are so many people going out on missions. The 8-armed Dowlord sent a voice transmission. Say, how long do you think we have to keep watching like this? On another tree not far away, there was a warrior in gray armor. He smiled and transmitted his voice. The army has a mission period every 10,000 years. Now that the new mission period has just begun, many small teams have begun to go out and carry out missions. Now is the craziest time of the year. If that Mountain Sea Dao Lord Zhang Xiai wants to leave the camp, it's very likely that he will go out at this time. The Supremes asked the 10 of us to watch the exit of the White Flame Army camp. After 100 years, when the next batch of experts from the Sacred Land arrives, we can go out on missions. At this moment, the 10 Dao Lords from the Great Sky Sacred Land were watching the exit of the camp. At this stage, it was the peak period for warriors to leave the camp. The probability of Zhang Xiai appearing was the highest, so they naturally couldn't be careless. Look, it's the Blue Flame Army. Watch carefully. That's a special legion. It's very likely that Zhang Xiai is in the special legion. Among the large number of warriors leaving the camp, warriors from the special legion would occasionally appear. As time passed, more warriors from the special legion appeared one after another. However, the 10 Dao Lords from the Great Sky Sacred Land didn't find any trace of Zhang Xiai. Finally, swoosh! Another group of figures in fiery red armor flew out of one of the spatial whirlpools. It's the Great Yen Army. This is also a special legion. Keep an eye on them. The 10 Dao Lords from the Great Sky Sacred Land immediately focused their gazes. The group of figures flew out one after another. Each of them was wearing fiery red Great Yen armor. Just from the style of the armor, one could tell the origin of the legion. Mountain Sea, then we'll part ways here. Mountain Sea, are you really not going on a mission with us? Where are you going? Tuatachi and Chung Luan both asked. I have something important to do, Zhang Xiai said with a smile. Since this was just a normal conversation, whether it was Zhang Xiai, Tuatachi, or Chung Luan, none of them used their spiritual senses. When the 10 Dao Lords from the Great Sky Sacred Land saw Zhang Xiai, they didn't realize that this was the Mountain Sea Dao Lord they were looking for. This was because in this army, Zhang Xi's appearance had changed slightly. He had become more rugged. In addition, he was covered in Great Yen armor and had a helmet that covered most of his face. Therefore, it was impossible to tell that this was Zhang Xiai at a glance. As Zhang Xiai and the others spoke, although they were far away and couldn't hear anything, the Dao Lords from the Great Sky Sacred Land could easily determine the content of the conversation just by looking at their lips. Mountain Sea. These two words immediately attracted their attention. The target's figure and appearance are similar to that of a human. It's very likely that he's Mountain Sea Dao Lord Zhang Xiai. Keep an eye on him. Immediately approach and identify him. Soon one of the 10 Dao Lords from the Great Sky Sacred Land who were monitoring from afar, wearing an ordinary legion's armor, flew directly toward the spatial whirlpool. Swoosh! As there were too many warriors coming and going in the surroundings, how could Zhang Xiai notice an ordinary warrior? When the ordinary warrior flew past him, Zhang Xiai frowned slightly and turned to look. 8 arms. He looks very similar to the experts from the Great Sky Sacred Land. His aura is also somewhat similar. What a coincidence. I actually encountered an expert from the Great Sky Sacred Land here? It seems that he should have discovered me. Zhang Xiai shook his head gently again. So what if he discovered me? In the Dream Origin realm, it's not up to the Great Sky Sacred Land to speak. Zhang Xiai didn't make a move because this was the Dream Origin realm and not the Chaos Sea. He couldn't act recklessly. Moreover, he didn't take the Great Sky Sacred Land seriously. The rules of the Dream Origin Realm were set by the army. Even the Great Scarlet Swallow Wilderness, which had an eternal Grand Paragon, had to listen to the army's orders obediently. A mere Great Sky Sacred Land was nothing. Let's go. Zhang Xiai then drove a Class 7 flying ship and quickly tore through the air. When the Eight-Arms Tao Lord flew past Zhang Xiai, he exchanged glances with Zhang Xiai. He instantly confirmed. It's Mountain Sea Tao Lord, it's Zhang Xiai. Information confirmed. Immediately report to the Supreme. The 10 Tao Lords from the Great Sky Sacred Land excitedly sent the news back to the Great Sky Sacred Land. At this moment, the Primordial Realm's Chaos Sea, the Great Sky Sacred Land Universe, the Divine Palace at the core of the Great Hammer Divine World. A blurry figure stood there in midair, and below him were 10 kneeling Tao Lords. Are you sure it's Zhang Xiai? Great Sky Supreme asked. Yes, Supreme. It's Zhang Xiai. His name in the Dream Origin Realm is Mountain Sea, which matches his title of Mountain Sea Tao Lord. Moreover, I personally flew past him and saw half of his face and eyes. They are identical to Zhang Xi's. The Eight-Arms Tao Lord replied respectfully. Very good. Great Sky Supreme nodded gently. Since we've confirmed that he's a warrior of the Great Yen Army, immediately find out which regiment and which squad he's in. We must find out. Yes. The 10 Tao Lords below immediately responded. This mission was very easy. After all, the number of warriors in the Great Yen Army was limited. Now that they knew Zhang Xi's name in the Dream Origin Realm and his appearance, it was easy to find out who he was. After you found out, there's no need to rush into action, Great Sky Supreme said again. Let's wait for Zhang Xiai to return to the camp first before we start the killing. If we start the killing in advance and leak the news, it won't be good if he escapes. We can only wait for him to return to the camp and let him fall into a killing trap with nowhere to run. Yes, the Dream Origin Realm was a huge world. In the central region of this world, there was a vast and endless blue ocean. In the middle of the ocean there was a vast continent. The Godly King Valley was on that continent. After Zhang Xiai left the camp, he drove a Class 7 flying ship and constantly teleported and flew in the Dream Origin Realm. It took him almost a year to reach the Godly King continent. I'm here. He stood on the flying ship and looked at the vast continent in the blue ocean. What would the place where the Godly King lived be like? Chapter 669. The Dream Origin Realm had a total of 5 continents. The White Flame Army, the Green Wind Army, the Mountain Shield Army, and the Styx River Army each ruled a vast continent and part of the ocean. In this vast and boundless ocean, there were many islands of various sizes. Among them, the Godly Monarch mainland was the largest island. Although it was far smaller than the other 4 continents, it had a special status because it was where His Majesty lived. It was also considered the 5th continent. Godly Monarch mainland. Zhang Xiai looked down and saw it. The entire continent's mountain ranges rose and fell. Mountains and rivers were everywhere, exuding rich vitality. Oh! Zhang Xiai was suddenly alarmed. This was because he realized that the countless undulating mountain ranges were like Tao Dharma patterns that appeared. Even the lakes were like nodes. Just by looking down at the entire Godly Monarch mainland, Zhang Xiai felt large amounts of Tao Dharma profundity surge into his mind. However, these Tao Dharma profundities were too profound, far exceeding what he could understand now. As expected of the place where Chaos Essence Godly Monarch once lived, even the topography of the mountains and rivers contains truth. Zhang Xiai sighed inwardly. Just as he was looking down at the Godly Monarch mainland from high in the sky, a figure suddenly teleported over from the continent below and rapidly approached Zhang Xiai. This is the Godly Monarch mainland. Trespassing is prohibited. Stop. At the same time a cold bellow sounded. The voice rumbled, immediately isolating Zhang Xiai from the outside world. He couldn't escape even if he wanted to. Eternal space-time? Zhang Xiai was immediately alarmed. Any one of them was an eternal supremacy. I'm the White Flame Army's Great Yen Legion's warrior Mountain Sea. I came to the Godly Monarch mainland because I applied for an elite mission. Zhang Xiai left the flying ship and shouted at the distant figure. Warrior Mountain, see? The Eternal Supremacy glanced at Jiang Xi from afar and scrutinized him carefully. Whoosh! Following that, the surrounding spacetime returned to normal. Follow me. The distant Eternal Supremacy nodded. Jiang Xi immediately flew over obediently, not daring to have any thoughts. Even though he already had the strength of an invincible heavenly venerable, he had no way of resisting an Eternal Supremacy. As he flew over, Jiang Xi also observed the other party. This Eternal Supremacy was very similar to a tribal warrior. He had a human appearance, but his body was dark gold in color. Even though he wasn't deliberately releasing any aura, he still gave off an extremely domineering aura. Mountain C, greetings. Jiang Xi bowed after he flew. Eternal Supremacy, supremacy of the monarch mainland, Eternal Supremacy, said Eternal Supremacy directly, supremacy, you monarch mainland, supremacy, godly monarch mainland, supremacy monarch mainland, supremacy of supremacy, understood. Riverward replied. Of the of supremacy, supremacy of supremacy of monarch, supremacy. The more Jiang Xi looked at the continent below, the more mysterious he felt. He couldn't help but ask, Lord Supremacy, I feel that there are Taoist patterns everywhere in the monarch mainland. Is there danger everywhere? Supremacy glanced at Jiang Xi and revealed a rare smile. That's right. The monarch mainland is indeed filled with danger. It's the most dangerous place in the Dream Origin realm. This continent is too large. If a large number of Tao Lords and Heavenly Venerables were to barge in here, even if there are many Eternal Supremacies guarding this place, it's impossible to take care of all of them. With these dangers, no experts would dare to barge in. Jiang Xi nodded. The information he received also reminded him that trespassing on the monarch mainland was forbidden. Anyone who did would be killed. Dojo. These two simple words caused Riverward to feel waves of shock in his heart. He had the God King level inheritance of 8 clouds, so he naturally knew a lot about the Eternal Realm and the Primordial Chaos Realm. The Primordial Chaos Realm was a self-created Taoist technique, not a step-by-step cultivation of a Taoist technique that already existed. If he could create a complete Tao technique, he would be able to use this Tao technique to form a Tao field. I didn't expect to see the dojo of a Chaos Origin Divine King here. Jiang Xi held his breath. This was a legendary place. Even in the more powerful Primordial Realm and Star Realm, there weren't many godly monarch Batamanda. It didn't take long for Riverward and Paragon Shojin to arrive in the air above a beautiful valley. That is the Godly King Valley. Autarch Shojin pointed towards the valley below. In the past, His Majesty the God King often stayed in the God King's Valley. I've already informed the guards of your arrival. Go ahead. They won't stop you. Thank you very much, Lord Shojin. Jiang Xi bowed respectfully. Also, look at that 9-story tower. Supreme Shojin pointed at the tallest building in the entire God King Valley. That's the Verdant Cloud Tower. I hope to see you come out alive after this elite mission is over. With that, Supreme Shojin shook his head and disappeared into thin air. Jiang Xi also looked at the 9-story tower and thought to himself, come out alive? Not only do I want to come out alive, but I also want to see what's inside. Why hasn't a single Tao Lord reached the top in these endless years? He was full of confidence and had an unstoppable momentum. Whoosh! Jiang Xi flew over. The God King Valley was heavily guarded, but the guards already knew that Jiang Xi was here for the elite mission, so they didn't stop him. They only shouted coldly through voice transmission, "You are not allowed to fly in the God King Valley." Hence Jiang Xi walked forward. He walked on the quiet path of the God King Valley, and arrived at the bottom of the Verdant Cloud Tower. The Verdant Cloud Tower was 1,000 light-years tall. It was the tallest building in the God King Valley. At this moment, there were already 6 figures at the bottom of the towering tower. "Warrior, come here," one of the 6 figures, a 2-horned beast, growled. The 2-horned beast was a heavenly venerable, while the other 5 figures were Tao Lords. Jiang Xi didn't say anything and walked over. "You're the 6th Tao Lord warrior in this batch," the 2-horned beast said in a deep voice. "According to the rules, each batch has to have 10 Tao Lord warriors before they can enter the Verdant Cloud Tower. 3 batches have already gone in. You're the 4th batch. Wait until there are 10 of you before you go in. Jiang Xi nodded to show that he understood. He looked around. The other 5 Dao Lord warriors were standing or sitting casually in the open space in front of the verdant cloud tower. There were also Dao Lords who were lying on the ground. The Great Yin Legion? You're from the White Flame Legion? One of the tall and thin warriors walked over. He was a warrior from a tribe. What he was wearing was a set of armor with a strange red tree engraved on it. You're from the Sequoia Legion? Jiang Xi smiled. The Sequoia Legion was one of the White Flame Legion's special legions. I'm Lai Yu from the Sequoia Legion. I'm Shan Hai from the Great Yin Legion. The two of them introduced each other. The tall and thin Lai Yu immediately put on a friendly expression. He smiled and said, "The other 4 warriors are from other armies. It's a pleasure to meet a warrior from the White Flame Legion here." "Oh right, which brigade are you from?" "I've been in the White Flame Legion for 100 million years, and this is my first time meeting you." "I'm a new recruit," Jiang Xi replied casually. As soon as he said this, Lai Yu was shocked. Even the other 4 Dao Lord warriors nearby focused their gazes on him. A new recruit? Realization dawned on Lai Yu. No wonder I've never seen you before. You must have joined in the last few tens of thousands of years. There are only so many special legions in the White Flame Legion, and I'm familiar with the most outstanding Dao Lord warriors. However, since you dare to participate in the elite mission, you must be strong. I believe your name, Shan Hai, will soon spread to all the special legions in the White Flame Legion. Jiang Xi smiled. Everyone was willing to listen to compliments. Moreover, it was extremely dangerous to enter the Verdant Cloud Pavilion. Since they were all from the White Flame Legion, it was normal for them to build a good relationship. Perhaps there would be some gang leaders when it came time to challenge the pavilion. Half a month passed in a blink of an eye. Another 4 Dao Lord warriors arrived. 10 of them. The 2-horned beast Heavenly Venerable growled. "You're the 4th batch of warriors to enter the Verdant Cloud Pavilion. I'll tell you in advance that more than half of the 3 batches of warriors who entered earlier have fallen. I hope you'll survive and I'll have a chance to see you again." The expressions of the 10 Dao Lord warriors changed. Jiang Xi was shocked as well. Those who dared to take on the elite mission were naturally not weak. However, more than half of the 3 batches of warriors from earlier had fallen. Rumble. In the distance, a door that was over 100 light-years tall was slowly opening. It let out a deafening sound and emitted countless dazzling lights. At the same time, an endless pressure spread out from the slowly opening door. "Go in." The 2-horned beast Heavenly Venerable shouted. Jiang Xi and the other 10 Dao Lord warriors looked at each other. Then they transformed into streaks of light and flew toward the towering door. None of them dared to teleport. After all, everyone knew how dangerous the elite mission was. Passing through the door was like entering another world. The first floor of the Verdant Cloud Pavilion. It was a vast desert world. Gusts of cold wind blew past. It was extremely cold. There was frost faintly forming on the sand. It was extremely cold. After Jiang Xi and the other 10 entered, they looked around and observed their surroundings. The mission is to climb the pavilion. What kind of test will it be? Jiang Xi was also observing. This desert world was boundless and there was no end in sight. Even the door behind them had disappeared. The Verdant Cloud Pavilion is extremely dangerous. Mountain Sea, where do you think is the priority? Is it under the desert? Lai Yu transmitted his voice from the side. I don't know. Jiang Xi shook his head. There were a total of 10 Dao Lord warriors. 6 of them were from tribes and 4 were ferocious beasts. One by one, the Dao Lord warriors unleashed their full combat strength and attacked their target. Roar! An ugly scaled beast roared and charged in front of Jiang Xi. Go to hell! A tall and sturdy tribal warrior, wielding a ferocious giant hammer, smashed it towards riverward. Kill! A black light swept directly at Jiang Xi's head. 3 warriors chose to attack Jiang Xi at the same time. Jiang Xi laughed. It seemed that this situation was caused by him admitting that he was a new recruit outside the Verdant Cloud Pavilion. Of course, the strong were bold. He was not afraid of anything. That was why he dared to say that before. First attack, then change. When the other two warriors saw that the situation was bad, they immediately scattered and fled as well. A pair of black wings appeared on the back of the burly warrior with the huge hammer. It was the Tier 7 Supreme Treasure, the Black Cloud Wings. He flapped his wings and flew away with a whistle. On the other hand, the beast warrior was the slowest. He was the last to flee. The slowest to flee? Then I'll take you. Jiang Xi chose a new target. His figure flashed as he charged forward. A pair of golden wings with purple veins appeared on his back. It was the Tier 8 Supreme Treasure he had obtained from Tuatachi. It was best at flying and dodging in close combat. Boom. He vanished from the spot in an instant. No! That ferocious beast warrior noticed this scene and was immediately shocked because this speed was too fast. How can he be so fast? The beast warrior was terrified. At the same time, he felt regret and despair. He regretted that he had exchanged for treasures in the army before joining the elite mission. However, he had only exchanged for offensive treasures. He did not exchange for life-saving treasures. In terms of offensive power, he was not afraid of any Dao Lord warriors. He felt despair when he saw Jiang Xi's speed and dodging ability. He knew that even if he had a Tier 8 Supreme Treasure, he would still lose if he continued fighting with Jiang Xi. Therefore, he had to flee. However, he could not escape. Boom! Jiang Xi vanished from the spot and appeared in front of the beast warrior. Whoosh! A black and white sword light whistled out and slashed straight at the beast warrior's head. That powerful Dao rune shook the void. Jiang Xi's strength had long been invincible among heavenly venerables. Now he could completely crush this beast warrior by casually displaying some of his strength. Therefore, this was destined to be a one-sided battle. The other warriors in the distance were even more shocked when they saw the power of this sword. At their level, almost all of them had the combat strength of a first-step heavenly venerable, reaching the limit of combat strength that a Dao Lord powerhouse could unleash. If their cultivation realm did not break through, it was almost impossible for their combat strength to break through to a higher level. Therefore, when everyone really fought, the gap between them would not be too great. However, they now discovered that this warrior Shanhai was too strong. This sword has already surpassed a first-step heavenly venerable. His speed is also freakishly strong. That pair of wings is actually a Tier 8 Supreme Treasure. It's hard to imagine how a recruit like him accumulated so many military merits. We have all accumulated military merits for tens of millions of years, hundreds of millions of years, before we can exchange for a special Tier 8 Supreme Treasure. While these warriors were fighting, they were also paying attention to Jiang Xi's battle. They knew very well that the final goal of the mission was to reach the top of the Verdant Cloud Tower. Since the first level of the Verdant Cloud Tower made them kill each other, then there were still 8 levels after that. Obviously, it was very likely that there would be tests where they would kill each other. Or rather, under the motivation of some benefits, it was possible that they would take the initiative to kill each other. Therefore, they naturally wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to figure out the strength of the other warriors. However, after watching for a while, they recognized a fact. This Shanhai is not to be provoked. Stay as far away as you can. If I knew he was so strong, I wouldn't have dealt with him. Lai Yu was the one who regretted it the most. If I didn't make a move just now, then perhaps he could have helped me in the later levels of tests. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. On the other side, roar! The beast warrior roared into the sky, the scales all over its body emitting a dim light. It raised its huge claws, wanting to block Jiang Xi's sword. But how could it block it? Whoosh! The black and white sword light whistled as if it could cut through everything. The second move of the Mountain Sea Sword Sutra's Heavenly Dao Scroll, 5 Elements Yin-Yang. This sword landed directly on the scaled beast's neck, and a huge head soared into the sky. However, this beast warrior's vitality was very tenacious. Its head and body quickly merged into one. However, its aura was still 20% of its original, and it no longer had the strength to resist. Shanhai, spare my life. The beast warrior begged for mercy in despair. Jiang Xi ignored it and raised his hand to swing his sword again. I'm willing to give up all my treasures. The beast warrior was terrified and anxious. After killing you, your treasures will be mine, Zhang Xiai said coldly. Moreover, I need your life to go to the second level. Just now, this beast warrior had taken the initiative to attack him, so there was naturally no need to show mercy. Whoosh! The sword struck again, and the black and white sword light flashed. No! The beast warrior roared in despair, filled with unwillingness however. It was useless even if he was unwilling. This sword landed on his body again with unstoppable force. In an instant, his huge body was annihilated. You killed a universe realm Dao Lord. Eternal experience +9. There are quite a lot of treasures left behind. Zhang Xiai waved his hand and put away the large number of items left behind by the beast warrior. Not counting the treasures below grade 7, there was a total of 1 grade 8 offensive treasure and 4 grade 7 treasures. Killing a top-notch Dao Lord warrior in an army is more profitable than killing 10 ordinary heavenly venerables. Zhang Xiai sighed in his heart. In the cold and barren desert the cold wind whistled. And in several incomparably distant directions battles were happening. Those warriors who were fighting occasionally glanced in Zhang Xi's direction. They're all quite far away from me. Zhang Xiai shook his head. Originally he wanted to kill a few more and get more treasures if he had the chance. First of all, he had to let the killing shadow sword devour the treasures he collected. This Yuan embryo supreme treasure could increase its grade by devouring other supreme treasures. It was worth mentioning that the killing shadow sword had devoured a large number of treasures in the 10,000 years. He had been in seclusion and had successfully upgraded to a grade 9 treasure. However, he was now in the dream origin realm. Whether it was the heaven-reaching tower or the killing shadow sword, he was very careful when using them. Normally, he would only use an ordinary 7th-tier supreme treasure longsword. Secondly, he was now the biggest pillar of the race after all. He had to take care of the entire human race. The more treasures he obtained outside, the stronger the foundation of the human race. Forget it. Let's go to the next level first, Zhang Xiai thought to himself. According to the mortality rate of elite missions, only 10% of people can leave the verdant cloud brothel alive. Only half of them died on the first level. And in their battles the final spoils of war are in the hands of the victors. Later on I can kill these victors and naturally get more. Zhang Xiai looked at the 4 battles in the distance and did not stay any longer. He turned into a stream of light and flew directly to the lightning pillar in the middle of the desert. Whoosh! When Zhang Xiai flew close, the lightning pillar did not stop him and allowed Zhang Xiai to enter. Boom! In the next moment, Zhang Xiai disappeared in the lightning pillar. He entered the second level. Phew! This terrifying guy finally entered the second level. The remaining 8 warriors who were fighting heaved a sigh of relief. If Zhang Xiai had been watching from the side, they would have been uneasy even if he did not attack. This was because they clearly felt that they were not on the same level as Zhang Xiai. We are the most outstanding Dao Lord warriors in the 4 armies. Logically speaking, even if there is someone stronger than us, he can't be that strong. How can this mountain sea warrior be so much stronger than us? They were all shocked and bewildered. After Zhang Xiai left, the remaining 8 warriors could finally fight in pairs without worry. However, the difference between them and Riverward was that because the difference in strength between them wasn't great, they fought much slower. On the other side, after a burst of space-time, Zhang Xiai appeared in a new world. Zhang Xiai looked around. This was a vast, dark red land. There were cracks all over it, and a scarlet-red liquid could be faintly seen flowing through the cracks. At the same time, blazing streams of air spewed out from those cracks and spread everywhere. Dark clouds covered the sky, making it extremely dark and gloomy. 5 warriors? Zhang Xi's gaze finally landed in the distance. There were 5 warriors scattered, and they were all very far away from each other. They were all very vigilant. Are they from the previous batch? Zhang Xi's heart skipped a beat. Some of the warriors from the later batch actually came up. In the distance, a warrior who looked like a young man chuckled. He was wearing dark red armor, which seemed to fit in well with this dark red world. Why, have you been waiting for the next batch? Zhang Xiai asked. The rule of the Verdant Cloud Brothel is that every batch of 10 warriors is formed. Our batch only has 5 warriors left, So we have to wait for the next batch of 5 warriors to come up. The young warrior grinned. His smile was very bright, but deep in his eyes there was a fierce glint. Jiang Xi nodded calmly. Under normal circumstances that was the case. Chapter 671. The 10 pillars of light were extremely fast, and their momentum was monstrous. Jiang Xi and the other warriors had no time to dodge and were completely enveloped by the light pillars. This is the second level of the Verdant Cloud Tower. You will be teleported to a small world. If you survive all the attacks in the small world, you can pass this level. You are 2 batches of warriors. The first batch has rested for a long time and has recovered a lot. The second batch still needs to recover. So, you will be teleported to the small world one after the other. The majestic voice resounded in the minds of Jiang Xi and the other warriors. The next moment, the space-time around the young warrior and the other 4 warriors from the first batch shook. The 5 of them were instantly teleported to a faraway place in this world. From afar, they were separated and each of them was trapped in a small world with a diameter of about 100 million kilometers. Hurry up and heal your injuries. Hurry. The more you recover, the better. Lai Yu and the other 3 warriors quickly took out many treasures to heal their injuries. Jiang Xi watched from the side. His battle was very fast and he had consumed little energy. He was not injured. In another place, the young warrior was wearing dark red armor. He was looking around and observing this small world with a diameter of 100 million kilometers. Rumble. An ancient Dao pattern suddenly appeared in the sky above the world. It was also 100 million kilometers in diameter. All sorts of colorful Dao patterns interweaved together to form this Dao pattern that enveloped the entire ground below. Immediately after, a series of roars sounded. The ancient Dao pattern shot down beams of light. Bang! Bang! These beams of light were like swords and sabers, cutting down wantonly. The young warrior wielded his saber and slashed continuously. With a clang, he blocked a beam of light that was shot at him. The impact of the beam of light sent him flying and rolling in the air. During this process, the Dao pattern kept shooting beams of light that covered the sky. So, he was inevitably attacked by a large number of beams of light. Too strong. Each beam of light is comparable to a first step heavenly venerable. If I didn't have an 8th tier armor treasure, I'm afraid I would have been annihilated. The young warrior was horrified. He could withstand 10 or even 100 rays of such power. But when this endless light rushed over, it was terrifying. The 5 warriors in the first batch were all trapped in 5 small worlds. Every warrior was being ravaged by the Dao patterns in the small worlds. The 5 warriors in Riverward's group were also carefully observing the situation while recovering. Doesn't seem too dangerous. This is much better than the first level where we had to kill each other. That way at least half of us would die. On this level, we only need to resist the attacks of the descending miniature worlds to survive. The other 4 warriors were quietly discussing among themselves. Sometimes they would glance at Jiang Xi and feel relieved. Jiang Xi remained silent, but his opinion was the same as the other warriors. This floor did not seem to be dangerous. Every ray of light that shot out from the Dao pattern was at the first step, heavenly venerate level. As long as one had an 8th tier defensive treasure, they would be able to withstand it. Could it be that too many people died on the first floor so the pressure on the second floor lessened? Jiang Xi thought to himself. Soon he realized that he had guessed wrongly. The warriors in the 5 small worlds also felt much more relaxed. Although it's a bit troublesome, it's not too difficult to survive. The 5 warriors were resisting. Since they had survived the first level, they naturally had many treasures on them. Having an 8th tier defensive treasure was the minimum requirement. Just as they were thinking this, suddenly rumble. The earth trembled. The earth of the 5 small worlds was trembling. The ground was originally covered in cracks, with crimson liquid flowing through them. At this moment, as the ground trembled, the crimson liquid gushed out of the ground, emitting a terrifying temperature. Perhaps even a universe-level Dao Lord would be instantly incinerated if he fell into it. The 5 Dao Lord warriors did not even think about it. They immediately flew up, not daring to stand on the ground. Whoosh! Whoosh! The crimson, scorching liquid quickly gathered together and kept on changing. In an instant it turned into a towering crimson giant, but it was not over yet. The crimson giant's body began to cool and solidify, turning from liquid to a dark red stone giant. In addition, this stone giant's body had streams of blazing liquid flowing through it. Roar! The 5 crimson stone giants raised their heads and roared angrily. The cracks in the ground continued to pour out crimson liquid, connecting it to the stone giants' bodies. Rumble! The Tao patterns in the skies of the 5 small worlds were constantly emitting light as they blasted downwards. Many rays of light landed on the stone giants' bodies, but they only caused some of the rocks on the stone giants' bodies to fall off. In addition, the rocks that fell off quickly transformed back into crimson liquid and once more gathered on the giants' bodies. In this way they did not cause any damage at all. Roar! A heaven-shaking roar rang out. The 5 stone giants charged towards the 5 warriors at the same time. They either trampled with their feet, swept out with their fists, or simply charged forward. In just the first exchange of blows, they sent the 5 warriors flying. They're too strong. Just a single blow. At this moment, Jiang Xi and the other warriors, who were still recovering, were shocked when they saw this scene. Although they did not experience it personally, they could easily see what kind of situation the warriors in the 5 small worlds were in. After all, the Tao Lord warriors who could participate in the elite mission were definitely at the level of a first step heavenly venerable. Those stone giants could send the 5 warriors flying with a single blow. This meant that the stone giant's strength was definitely at the level of a third step heavenly venerable. And now it was not just the stone giants. The Tao pattern in the sky of the small worlds was still emitting endless light. Even if the 5 warriors had the strength to dodge the stone giants' attacks, they would not be able to dodge those rays of light. Although they had level 8 armor treasures that could withstand the attack of a third step heavenly venerable, they could only withstand it for a short period of time. However, he could only hold on for a moment. Boom! Boom! In the vast world on the 2nd floor of the Verdant Cloud Tower, there were streaks of hot air rising from the dark red ground. The hot energy could probably burn a Tao Lord expert to death. In the 5 miniature worlds of the first batch of warriors, roar! The 5 dark red rock giants were incomparably barbaric. They rampaged around and beat the 5 warriors until they were battered and exhausted. On the other side, Jiang Xi and the other 5 warriors were watching carefully. Apart from Riverward, the other 4 warriors had worried looks in their eyes. The rock giants can't be killed. We have to stall for time. The other 4 warriors were also thinking of a solution. They had just experienced the battle on the 1st floor. They did not rest as long as the first batch of warriors. Now, when they were resting, they could see the danger on the 2nd floor in advance. This could be considered a fair compensation soon. The 5 warriors in the first batch fought for half an hour in the miniature world. Boom! 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 The light pillars that enveloped Jiang Xi and the other 4 suddenly shook. The power of teleportation appeared and the 5 figures disappeared. Jiang Xi only felt a change in space-time. He crossed a region and came to a miniature world. Only half an hour of rest? But it's fair to let us know the danger in advance. Jiang Xi looked up at the sky. In the dark clouds above, a huge Tao pattern appeared and covered the sky of the miniature world. Boom! 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 The huge Tao pattern poured down a large amount of light. The power of each light was comparable to the full strength attack of a first-step celestial master. Fortunately, this was just a trial, so the light spread to all regions. If it was concentrated, even an eternal supreme would not dare to resist the combined attack of hundreds of millions of light rays. Huh! Jiang Xi looked up at the sky and then waved his sword. Clang! The long sword in his hand blocked an attack. The power of the collision caused Riverward to retreat 6 steps in a row. Clang! Clang! At the same time, he waved his sword and blocked 9 more light rays. Sure enough, all the light rays have the same power. They're all first-step celestial masters. Jiang Xi judged in his heart. His current combat strength was between a first-step celestial master and a second-step celestial master, so it seemed very easy. Rock giant, hurry up and show yourself. Zhang Xiai did not feel any pressure. Purple patterned golden wings. Then he took out this treasure and a pair of golden wings with purple patterns appeared on his back. Instantly, the speed and agility of his movement technique increased explosively. In this way, the slanted light rays were even less of a threat to him, and he easily dodged them. Rumble, the earth trembled, and from those cracks, a scarlet liquid spewed out. Zhang Xiai immediately rose into the air and looked down. He saw the scarlet liquid rolling and converging into a huge liquid monster. Then these monsters cooled and condensed again, turning into a huge dark red rock giant. Roar! The rock giant roared at the sky and charged toward Zhang Zigood. Zhang Xiai smiled slightly, then his figure flashed and directly faced it with his sword. Boom! The dark red rock giant was close to 300,000 kilometers tall. When it punched down, it was like a huge mountain pressing down. Zhang Xiai just waved his sword, and a bright sword light suddenly turned into 1,000,000 feet long and swept out. The third move of the Mountain Sea Sword scripture. Heavenly Path Scroll, Destruction and Rebirth. Crash. The resplendent sword light landed on the mountain-like fist, and it was as if a mountain had collapsed. The huge dark red fist was directly chopped off. The rock giant was a third-step celestial master, and Zhang Xiai was only a Tao Lord. This sword strike alarmed the Eternal Supreme, who was secretly watching the battle. Chapter 672. On the third floor of the Grey Palace, not far from the verdant cloud brothel, the floating screen was displaying the battle scenes in the 10 small worlds. One could clearly see the situation of the 10 Tao Lord warriors. There were 4 thrones in the main hall. On the leftmost throne was a towering figure shrouded in black mist. At this moment, the black mist outside the towering figure suddenly tumbled. Sword technique. A voice came from the black mist. Whoosh! The 10 images on the screen were originally side by side. At this moment, the images of the other 9 small worlds shrank instantly. The image showing Zhang Xiai rapidly expanded, occupying 90% of the light. This Sword Dao secret technique, how? The Black Mist commander seemed to be completely stunned. As one of the 4 commanders of the Divine King Valley, he had seen countless elite warriors in the verdant cloud brothel. However, this was the first time he had seen someone with such talent in secret techniques. The fusion of 3 heavenly Das. Unheard of, unprecedented. It's already extremely rare to be able to complete the fusion of 3 great Das, but he actually managed to do it. The Black Mist commander's eyes were sharp. He could tell at a glance that Zhang Xi's dazzling swordlight was the fusion of 3 heavenly Das, including the ultimate sword Dao, the 5 elements heavenly Dao, and the heavenly Dao of life. Moreover, it wasn't a simple fusion but a fusion on a deeper level. With the heavenly Dao as the foundation, one can create a rank 6 secret technique at most, which is the limit of a Dao Lord. But this warrior used 3 heavenly Das to create a Sword Dao secret technique, and it's a rank 7 secret technique. He broke through the limit of a Dao Lord's secret technique. As an elite of the eternal level, the Black Mist commander knew what this meant. After cultivating the eternal level to perfection, the Dao technique cultivated would also reach perfection, reaching the end. The next step was to create one's own Dao technique. If one could embark on that path, they could break through and become a supreme expert of the chaos realm. And the essence of secret techniques was Dao techniques. The warrior in front of him had fused 3 heavenly Das, allowing his secret technique to break through the limit of a Dao Lord. This meant that in the future, this warrior could also use this special method to break through the limit of Dao techniques and create new Dao techniques. He could easily become a supreme expert of the chaos realm. This is a primordial chaos road. The Black Mist commander exclaimed. He understood, but he didn't understand anything. It wasn't as if no one had ever tried the cultivation method of fusing Daoist techniques. Since ancient times, it was unknown how many peerless geniuses had tried, but at most they could fuse to the level of the great Dao, and were unable to continue. No one knew how the fusion of the heavenly Daos would go. Of course, Zhang Xiai didn't know that he did it using the experience panel. Why didn't the 4 generals tell me about such a warrior? With such talent, he is definitely the most important seed. It is very likely that he is the peerless figure that His Majesty the Divine King mentioned. Why is it that the list that the 4 generals gave me did not include this warrior? The Black Mist commander was somewhat displeased and angry. His goal in the Divine King's Valley for countless years was to find that peerless character for His Majesty the Divine King. Warrior Galaxy? From the Great Yen Army. So he just joined the army. No wonder the 4 generals didn't tell me. He just joined the army for 10,000 years, but he rushed to participate in the elite mission. Seems like he has absolute confidence. The Black Fog commander quickly ascertained the situation. His voice was filled with joy. The 3 of you stop sleeping and come over quickly. His voice rumbled through the entire Grey Palace and reached deep underground. Over there, 3 other commanders were in deep slumber. The commanders of the Divine King's Valley did not concern themselves with worldly affairs. They usually stayed in the Divine King's Valley and had nothing to do. Hence, the 4 commanders took turns to look after the Verdant Cloud Pavilion. At the same time, they were in charge of the Divine King's continent. They would only summon the other 3 commanders when there was a special occasion. Boom! 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 3 powerful auras rose, shocking the heavenly venerate guards in the Divine King's Valley. On the 3rd floor of the Grey Palace, there were 4 thrones in the Great Hall. Apart from the one on the far left that was shrouded in black mist, there was another one on the left. A beautiful woman in silver armor sat on the 2nd throne on the left. Her eyes seemed to be the source of all light. With just a glance, one would be immersed in a world of light. On the throne next to her sat a tall and burly crimson armor commander. He exuded a boundless domineering aura. On the far right was a ferocious beast covered in black scales. This ferocious beast had 2 pairs of faces. Each face had a single eye. It was extremely demonic. You 3 look at that sword-wielding warrior. The Black Mist commander pointed at the light. The 3 commanders who had just woken up from their long slumber all looked at the screen of light floating in the air. They were also filled with anticipation. After all, when the Divine King had left, he had ordered them to find a peerless figure who could reach the top of the Verdant Cloud Pavilion. They had been waiting for this for far too long. Oh, this Downlord warrior hasn't even used his body or primordial spirit, but he's already able to contend with a 3rd step heavenly venerate stone giant. No, look at his swordsmanship. This warrior's swordsmanship is actually a fusion of heavenly das. 3 heavenly das fused together. The 3 commanders looked at Jiang Xi's on the screen of light and easily determined the profoundness of Jiang Xi's swordsmanship. As for the other 9 warriors, they only glanced at them and did not want to look anymore. In their long years of guarding the Divine King Valley, they had seen countless elite warriors. Naturally, they would not be attracted if they did not reach a certain level. Next, they watched carefully. As time passed slowly, the 3 commanders fell silent. This was because in the screen of light, the sword-wielding red-armored warrior with a pair of wings on his back was extremely agile as he attacked the stone giant from all sides. Every sword strike caused great damage to the stone giant. He was completely toying with and crushing the stone giant. A Downlord was toying with a 3rd step heavenly venerate. During this process, the 3 commanders at the Eternal Supreme level had a clearer understanding of the dazzling sword light. Even I am a little moved by it. The burly and domineering blood-armored commander sighed. His swordsmanship is actually so profound? You are a Chaos Origin Divine General. How can you be moved by it? The other 3 commanders were astonished. When the Divine King had left, he had chosen the 4 of them to be the commanders of the Divine King Valley. This was because they were all elites at the Eternal level, and had reached the Eternal limit during these long years. One of them had created his own Dao technique, and broke through to become a Chaos Origin Divine General. He was at the same level as the 4 great generals. However, according to the orders of the Divine King, the 4 of them had to guard the Divine King Valley and search for peerless figures. They were not allowed to leave the Dream Origin realm. Just like the 4 great generals, although they were Chaos Origin Divine Generals, they were not allowed to leave the Dream Origin realm. Of course, after the Divine King left, some Chaos Origin Divine Generals had tried to leave the Dream Origin realm. However, those who had left rashly had never returned. Not to mention that, at this very moment, the 4 great commanders were all subdued by Riverward sword technique. Given their experience, they could see that this was a primordial chaos road, and an extraordinary one at that. Once one became a Chaos Origin Divine General through this path, his strength would definitely be at the top of his peers. He would be invincible. Perhaps he has a chance to reach the top of the Verdant Cloud building. The blood-armored commander at the Chaos Origin Divine General level was full of expectations. As soon as he said this, the other three commanders quieted down and the atmosphere became a little tense. They all stared at the light and did not dare to relax for a moment. Completing the mission given by the Divine King was more important than breaking through to the Chaos Origin Divine General level, or even their lives. On the second floor of the Verdant Cloud building, 10 small worlds were scattered around the vast dark red land. The 5 warriors in the first batch were already in a very difficult situation, and could only hold on bitterly. The 5 warriors in the second batch, including Jiang Xi, were also in a difficult situation. However, they were in a much better state because they had only fought for a short period of time. Especially Jiang Xi, he looked very relaxed. From the moment he was teleported to the small world until now, he had not consumed any energy at all. He was still in peak condition. He could fight against a third-step celestial master with the annihilation of the 3 Heaven Dao and the rank 8 purple striped golden wings. The 5 warriors in the first batch seem to be reaching their limits. If this goes on, it will not be long before warriors start to die. Jiang Xi observed the situation of the other 9 small worlds. Perhaps only he dared to pay attention to the surroundings at this critical moment. Roar! 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 Suddenly 5 angry howls sounded. In the small worlds of the 5 warriors in the first batch, the 5 huge rock giants were roaring at the sky. The sound was mournful and crazy. It was completely different from the previous battle. It was very strange and could even affect the primordial spirits of the warriors. As for Jiang Xi's group of 5 warriors, their small worlds did not have such abnormal changes. However, when they heard the sound, their hearts trembled and they could not help but look into the distance. Accompanied by the mournful howls, the 5 warriors in the first batch began to panic and felt the arrival of danger. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, the small worlds of the 5 warriors changed greatly. A huge rock palm stretched out from the cracks in the earth not far from the rock giants. The 5 rock palms were surrounded by boiling red liquid. Each of them was 1,000,000 kilometers wide. The rock palms that stretched out had thick arms that were constantly growing longer. In fact, they were constantly stretching out from the ground. The whole process was extremely short. Without any warning, they directly grabbed the 5 warriors. Among the 5 warriors in the first batch, a tribal warrior was about to dodge but was caught by the rock palms. The large stone hand gripped the warrior tightly. At this time, the ancient patterns in the sky began to descend. Moreover, the light that poured down became even more terrifying, giving the warriors less time to dodge. Roar! The rock giants also roared and punched the warrior who was caught. Boom! The terrifying hammering made the warrior feel extreme pain. Even though he had an 8th tier armor treasure, he was almost at the limit of what he could endure. Bang! 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 The rock palms grabbed and the rock giants hammered wildly, causing the warrior's state to deteriorate. Open! 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 The warrior struggled hard. His body, primordial spirit, Taoist techniques, Dharma treasures, and other means were all used to resist. Whoosh! Finally, when the rock giant smashed a crack in the rock palms, he took the opportunity to escape. The rock palms disappeared. The warrior was relieved. However, his state had deteriorated by more than half. It was difficult for him to resist. Roar! At this moment, a large stone hand reached out from the crack in the earth without any warning and grabbed at him. No! The warrior was in despair. At the same time, the other 4 warriors in the first batch were also in a similar desperate situation. If they were in a difficult situation before, now they were in a real life and death crisis. It was completely one-sided. The rock palms, the rock giants, and the descending patterns made the 5 warriors despair. Even with 8th tier armor treasures, they couldn't hold on for long. Oh no! We're in big trouble. The 5 warriors are in danger now. It won't be long before we'll be in danger too. The other 4 warriors in Jiang Xi's batch were all in a panic. Only Jiang Xi was calm. However, he was also thinking about the situation they would face next. The rock palms appeared without warning. But if you look closely, you'll find that the rock palms only appear around the rock giants. Once they're caught, the patterns in the sky will descend and reduce the warrior's reaction time. That means as long as we're not caught and don't let the rock giants get close to us, there won't be much danger, Zhang Xiai thought. Of course, it wasn't difficult for him. However, it was a hopeless situation for the other warriors. So dangerous. Warriors will definitely die. Zhang Xiai shook his head. Just as Zhang Xiai thought, with the appearance of the rock palms, the 5 warriors in the first batch were in a more difficult situation. From time to time, a warrior would be caught by the rock palms and then hammered by the rock giants. The patterns in the sky were also descending rapidly. Every ray of light released by the patterns was comparable to a first-step celestial master's full-strength attack. If they were hit by a large number of rays at the same time, they wouldn't be able to withstand it even with 8th-tier armor treasures. No! The tribal warrior was caught by the rock palms again. Boom! Then the rock giants hammered him crazily. Whoosh! Whoosh! At the same time, countless rays of light from the patterns came down. Ah! In an instant, with a desperate howl, the tribal warrior turned into nothingness, leaving behind a pile of treasures scattered on the ground. The rock giants roared excitedly. Then they turned into red liquid again and flowed into the cracks in the ground. The treasures were also sucked in. After everything dissipated, the small world also disappeared. There were only 9 small worlds left on the ground of the second level. The 4 warriors in the first batch were even more panicked. It's not over yet? I've reached my limit. The test of the second level should be over, right? The 4 warriors were very anxious. Other than Zhang Xiai, the other 4 warriors in Riverward's group were also nervous. We have to conserve our energy and maintain our condition. We can't get hurt, or we won't survive the second level. Just as they were feeling uneasy, a shrill and crazy sound rang in their ears. The 5 small worlds in their batch also changed greatly. The rock palms began to condense. Chapter 673. On the second floor of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. In Jiangxi's group of 5 small worlds, a huge stone hand with red liquid on its surface emerged from the ground. Why are they so fast? We came in much later than them. Apart from Zhang Xiai, the other 4 warriors were anxious. They were about half an hour later than the previous batch of warriors, and were transported to the small worlds. However, the appearance of the stone hand was only 10 minutes later than the previous batch of warriors. In other words, they encountered the stone hand 20 minutes earlier. Whoosh! Zhang Xiai flapped his golden wings and dodged the stone hand that suddenly appeared. At the same time, his sword landed on the stone giant's body. Compared to the other 4 warriors, he was very calm and relaxed. He even relied on the agility brought by his purple-patterned golden wings to prevent the countless rays of light from touching him. However, when the stone hand appeared, the Tao pattern also began to descend, restricting his movement space and reducing his reaction time. Finally, more and more rays of light began to fall on Jiangxi's body. 10 rays, 100 rays, 1,000 rays. This was equivalent to 1,000 first-step heavenly venerables attacking at the same time. Even a true third-step heavenly venerables would be half dead after being attacked by 1,000 first-step heavenly venerables. 8 lives, cloud annihilation. Zhang Xiai finally couldn't help but use a small part of his body and essence spirit to erupt. The realm of his body and essence spirit immediately increased by 10 times. In the ancient Grey Hall, the 4 commanders of the Godly King Valley, 1 Chaos Essence Divine General, and 3 Eternal Supremes were all staring at the light screen, watching Jiangxi's performance in the small world. Haha, this warrior Mountain Sea is finally willing to use his eruption technique. As a warrior of the Special Army, the basic inheritance has a body and essence spirit eruption technique. The other warriors have already used it. He can really endure it. He waited until now to use it. The 4 commanders laughed when they saw Jiangxi's changes on the light screen. Once he used his body and essence spirit eruption technique, Jiangxi's physical strength, defense, and speed suddenly soared. As for his primordial spirit, as his primordial spirit grew stronger, The might of the secret techniques he executed also increased explosively. Previously it had been a little strenuous, but in an instant it became easy again. In midair, he dealt with the stone hand and the stone giant at the same time, and then dodged the Tao pattern light. The entire process was effortless. A few more minutes passed. The Tao pattern in the sky was descending lower and lower, gradually forcing Jiang Xi to get closer to the ground. There was less and less space for him to dodge. The second trial won't pose any difficulty to this mountain sea warrior. His body and soul haven't been drained at all. There's definitely no problem. The four commanders all nodded lightly. On the second floor of the verdant cloud building in the 9 small worlds. It's not over yet? In the front group of warriors, the young warrior wearing dark red armor was desperately dodging and flying. In his miniature world, the Tao pattern had already descended to a height of 1,000,000 kilometers from the ground. At this height he couldn't fly too high. The rock hand itself was millions of kilometers wide. If they were not careful they would be caught. Bam! Bam! The Tao pattern light that poured down continuously hit the young warrior. Whoosh! The rock hand suddenly stretched out again. No! The young warrior desperately dodged. However, he found that he had no space to dodge. The huge palm that was millions of kilometers wide had just stretched out of the ground and directly caught him. My body and soul have been drained too much. Even if I dodge with all my strength, I can't avoid it. The young warrior was desperate. He waved the saber in his hand with all his might, trying to split the rock hand and find a chance to escape. Boom! 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 The dark red stone giant rushed up and hammered wildly with its fists. In an instant hundreds of punches had landed, reducing the young warrior's aura to the lowest. Whoosh! Finally, the young warrior escaped from the gap between the rock hand and flew out with a whoosh. But at this moment hundreds of rays of light flew over from the sky. It's over! The young warrior's face was pale. Whoosh! The young warrior was instantly drowned in the light and turned into nothingness, leaving behind some supreme treasures and other things. Another warrior had fallen. About half a minute after the young warrior had fallen. Whoosh! 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 Of the 5 warriors from the previous batch, the small worlds that enveloped the 3 survivors suddenly dissipated. The stone giant also turned into a red liquid and flowed into the cracks in the ground. Everything disappeared without a trace. The 3 surviving warriors were stunned. They were originally facing a desperate situation, but the pressure was suddenly lifted. Haha, I'm still alive. I'm still alive. I'm ready to welcome death. It's over. It's finally over. The 3 surviving warriors cried and laughed. The desperate situation just now was no different from death. Of the 3 of them, the worst was not even 1,000th of his peak state. The best was only 100th. Therefore, they quickly woke up from their excitement and joy. This is not good. We're so weak now. This is only the 2nd floor of the verdant cloud brothel. There's still the 3rd floor, the 4th floor. How are we going to survive? Yes, we're already so weak. Even if we're given time to recover, it's hard to recover much. Next, it's still a desperate situation. The 3 warriors were very worried. If we're weak, the other warriors are weak as well. That's fair. Who knows, the verdant cloud brothel might even provide us with treasures that can help us recover. What do you mean the other warriors are weak as well? Look, that warrior from the Great Yin army is still crushing the stone giant. One of the warriors pointed into the distance with a grim expression. The other 2 warriors looked over as well. Then they saw a red-armored warrior holding a long sword toying with the stone giant in the small world. At the same time, he perfectly dodged the stone giant's hand and the Tao veins. He's so strong. The 3 warriors looked at each other. Swoosh! 3 pillars of light descended and shrouded the 3 surviving warriors. In an instant they disappeared. They've gone to the 3rd floor? Riverward saw this scene. However, the 3 of them have weakened to a very low level. I reckon our batch is about the same. Shay. Indeed, the development of the situation was just as Jiang Xi had expected. As the ancient Tao veins continued to descend, the situation of the 5 warriors in their batch worsened. Some of them began to die. A moment later the test ended. Surprisingly, there were 3 survivors in their batch. We survived. Haha, we survived. The other 2 warriors were overjoyed. However, when they saw Jiang Xi, they immediately retreated. It was as though Jiang Xi was more dangerous than the small world. Jiang Xi glanced at them. His gaze fell on the tall and thin warrior, Liu. He chuckled and said, "You're lucky. You're still alive." Liu's heart skipped a beat. Regret welled up in his heart again. He knew Shanhai was holding a grudge. Swoosh! Another 3 pillars of light descended and transported Jiang Xi and the others to the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor of the verdant cloud pavilion was a vast grassland. When Jiang Xi and the others appeared, they saw a group of warriors. The 4th batch is here. What a coincidence. The 4th batch is the same as the 3rd. 3 of them survived. Voices rang in the air. As soon as Jiang Xi appeared, he immediately surveyed his surroundings. He saw figures scattered in the distance. Some were warriors from the tribes, some were beasts. There were quite a number of them. At a glance, there were as many as 11 people on the grassland, including him. 11 warriors? Jiang Xi thought to himself, there are 6 survivors from the 3rd and 4th batches. It seems like the other 5 warriors are from the 1st and 2nd batches. Jiang Xi guessed, if that's the case, the 3rd floor of the verdant cloud pavilion is meant for all batches of warriors to gather? At the same time, he swept his gaze across the warriors. Swoosh! 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 The survivors from the 3rd and 4th batches were so frightened that their expressions changed. They teleported far away. Some of them even unleashed their space-time domains to control the space-time around them. They were on high alert. This? The warriors from the 1st and 2nd batches were shocked they were not fools. They immediately realized that the warrior from the Great Yin army was not ordinary. Just a look from him was enough to scare the warriors away. Clearly, he was not on the same level as them. We should be careful too. Even the warriors from the 3rd and 4th batches are so afraid. This warrior from the Great Yin army must be terrifyingly powerful. Although the warriors from the 1st and 2nd batches did not know how powerful Jiang Xi was, they still teleported away out of caution. Then, they unleashed their space-time domains to control the space-time around them. Jiang Xi merely shook his head and chuckled when he saw this. Time passed. Days went by. On the 6th day, the 5th batch of survivors arrived at the 3rd floor. A moment later, the 3 survivors from the 6th batch arrived as well. Just like that, 2 months passed in a blink of an eye. A total of 37 warriors had gathered on the grassland on the 3rd floor of the verdant cloud pavilion. Some of the new warriors knew some of the warriors from the 1st and 4th batches. After some discussion, they knew how terrifying the Great Yin army warrior was. Hence, many of the warriors stayed away from him. Naturally, there were still those who were confident. They did not think much of Jiang Xi. You're so scared of a mere tribal warrior? A plant lifeform with luxuriant foliage said. Its body was covered in crimson flowers. The largest flower had eyes and a mouth. It said disdainfully, "Before I joined the army, I've already killed tens of thousands of tribal warriors." As it spoke, the plant lifeform looked at Riverward provocatively. Your body is 100 million kilometers tall. Of course you're not afraid of him. If we had a body like yours, we wouldn't be afraid of him either. Some of the warriors in the distance said with a smile. Provocation, fear, indifference. Jiang Xi ignored the various attitudes of the other warriors. He waited quietly with an indifferent expression on his face. Finally, with the appearance of 3 more survivors, there was finally some movement on the grassland on the 3rd floor of the verdant cloud pavilion. Rumble! A huge vortex suddenly appeared on the grassland. It rippled like water. Its diameter was 100 million kilometers. The 40 surviving warriors all looked up at the sky whiz. Spacetime rippled and vibrated. No matter where Jiang Xi and the 40 warriors were, they were instantly teleported to the bottom of the vortex. Whoosh! 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 The huge vortex in the sky suddenly released light screens that surrounded a large area on the grassland. This area was 100 million kilometers in diameter, and was completely isolated from the outside world. It corresponded perfectly with the vortex above. Whoosh! In the middle of the vortex in the sky, a huge light sword suddenly appeared. It seemed to be made entirely of light. The huge light sword seemed to have a mind of its own. It was staring at the warriors below and seemed to be able to see through everyone's hearts. For a moment, Jiang Xiai and the other warriors felt their primordial spirits freeze. At this moment an old voice sounded. The first 3 floors of the Verdant Cloud Pavilion are dangerous. As long as you pass the 3rd floor alive, there will be no more danger. From the 4th floor onwards, there will be all kinds of benefits, inheritances, rewards, and so on. The higher you go, the greater the benefits. Of course, you must pass the 3rd floor alive. Hearing this voice, many of the 40 warriors were filled with anticipation. Only the 3rd floor was dangerous. After that, there would be all kinds of opportunities and benefits. At this moment, the old voice continued to reverberate in the minds of the warriors. Based on the performance of the 40 warriors in the first 2 floors, only 15 of you can survive the 3rd floor. The 15 warriors who survive can enter the 4th floor and obtain many benefits. This time even Jiang Xiai was surprised. This level had a limit on the number of survivors. As for the warriors who were originally filled with anticipation, they began to worry once again. Being able to survive to the 3rd floor was already proof of their talent and strength. But in this level, more than half of them would die. With only 15 people, except for a few, most of the warriors did not have the confidence to say that they could survive this level. Boom! Boom! Suddenly there were 2 explosions. Huge branches and leaves spread out. The long branches and leaves had a dazzling golden light as they whipped a tribal warrior. The tribal warrior's strength was not even 1% of his peak strength. Under such a sudden attack, he was annihilated into nothingness. What? It killed the other warriors. The survivors were all shocked. Jiang Xiai also frowned slightly. He glanced over and saw that it was the plant life form that had attacked. The Verdant Cloud Brothel said that only 15 of us can survive, but they did not forbid us from killing each other. Now that we've killed one more opponent. Haha, die. The plant life form laughed wantonly as its branches and leaves began to dance wildly. At this moment, everyone had just gone through the torture of the small world on the 2nd floor. Many of the warriors were in a severely injured state and had not recovered. The weakest one was not even 1% of his peak strength. Run! The severely injured warriors hurriedly fled in all directions, trying to keep a distance from the stronger warriors. However, the vortex in the sky covered an area of 1 billion kilometers and a light screen descended. They could not escape at all. No matter how they fled, they were still in this area. For a moment, the space under the vortex became chaotic. Chapter 674. In the midst of the chaos, Riverward was the only one standing there, not moving at all, ignoring the surrounding soldiers. And none of the warriors dared to attack Jiang Xiai. Even the most arrogant plant life deliberately avoided Jiang Xiai with its wildly dancing branches and leaves. Rumble! Suddenly, the huge light sword in the sky lit up. As if it had opened its eyes, it emitted beams of misty white sword light that sprinkled down. It didn't seem to have any power, but it stirred everyone's hearts. What is this? So strange. The warriors who were still fighting felt a shock to their souls after being hit by the white sword light. It was as if a sword had pierced their hearts. This strange situation caused many of the warriors to stop fighting and prepare to deal with the white sword lights first. No one knew what dangers there were on the 3rd level. If it was a terrifying danger, they would be courting death if they were distracted by fighting. In just a moment of chaos, 3 of the 40 warriors had fallen. Of course, these 3 were the ones who had been severely injured on the 2nd level. They were the first to be killed. Even their treasures had been divided among the other warriors. Fortunately, the mountain sea didn't move. Liu stood far away. He glanced at Jiang Xiai and relaxed a lot. Then he looked up at the huge light sword in the sky. Many of the other warriors did the same, raising their heads to watch. The huge light sword in the center of the vortex released endless white sword light. It fell like rain, covering an area of 1 billion kilometers. Every white sword light didn't hurt anyone's body. It was as if there was no harm at all. It only felt like the sword was stabbing their hearts. What danger is on the third level? It goes straight to the heart. Is it disturbing our minds? The second level only had Dao patterns at the beginning. Later there were rock giants and rock hands. Maybe there will be some strange danger on the third level. The warriors were uneasy. Some of the warriors even flew up, not daring to approach the ground in case something suddenly appeared on the grassland. Endless white sword light poured down like rain, landing on every warrior's body. Soon, the warriors found that they were feeling more and more uncomfortable. This seems to be an attack of the primordial spirit? Is the third level testing the strength of the primordial spirit? No, the sword light didn't attack the primordial spirit. The warriors were still guessing and thinking of ways to resist. No one was willing to be eliminated at this time because elimination meant death. Moreover, as long as they survived this level and reached the fourth level, there would be many benefits. Who would be willing to give up? Riverward was also carefully sensing the white sword light that was smashing down. He had already roughly guessed what it was. It's indeed not testing the strength of the primordial spirit. It's testing the heart. Mental state. In terms of mental cultivation, this was the only domain that he didn't rely on the experience panel. Mental cultivation couldn't increase in strength. Strictly speaking, it was only a supplementary effect. For example, it could make him calmer in the face of danger and make it easier for him to think of countermeasures. Another example, a strong mental endurance. And in front of him, the white swords of light that came crashing down like raindrops were a test of his state of mind, a test of his heart's endurance. According to Big Brother Xiantian's theory, mental cultivation is divided into 3 realms: false, great, and void. I reached the void realm long ago. If it corresponds to the cultivation realm, the void realm corresponds to the Tao Lord realm. After that, there is the Empyrean realm, the Eternal realm, and even the Primordial Chaos realm. And my current mental cultivation should be at least a 3rd step Empyrean, or even higher. This was where Jiang Xi was most confident. Feeling the increasingly strong mental impact, Jiang Xi didn't feel any pressure. He didn't believe that this level's test could exceed the Empyrean limit. If that was the case, it wouldn't be a test at all. This little mental impact has no effect on me at all, so... Jiang Xi turned his head and looked into the distance. There stood a warrior in the form of a green-winged bird. It was Liu. Let's kill him first. Whoosh! Jiang Xi's speed immediately soared and he rushed over. Liu was resisting the primordial spirit. At the same time, he was paying attention to his surroundings. Although he had the 8th stage supreme treasure, the green-winged bird, which was good at escaping, he had been seriously injured on the 2nd level to resist the dangers of the miniature world. His condition had deteriorated greatly even after 2 months of recovery. His strength was still less than 1/10 of his peak. Of course he had to be careful. Liu instantly discovered a stream of light flying towards him. Mountain Sea. Liu was shocked. This was what he was afraid of. Whoosh! Liu flapped his wings and swung his tail. He immediately flew at high speed, trying to avoid Jiang Xi's attack. At the same time he transmitted, Mountain Sea. We are both from the White Flame Army. Why are you chasing me? If not you, who would I kill? Jiang Xi sneered. Liu felt bitter. Previously, on the 1st level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel, he suddenly attacked Jiang Xi. At that time he said to Jiang Xi, "You are a recruit. If not you, who would I kill?" Now the situation was reversed. Mountain Sea, as long as you don't kill me, I am willing to give you an 8th stage supreme treasure as compensation. Liu transmitted anxiously. Jiang Xi only replied with a cold snort. This Liu seemed to be on good terms with him previously, but suddenly attacked him in secret. This kind of sinister and vicious person was what Jiang Xi hated the most. Therefore he had to kill him. Jiang Xi chased and Liu fled. It had to be said that the 8th stage supreme treasure, the green-winged bird, was faster than the purple-striped golden wings in a straight line. 8 lives. Jiang Xi's heart moved. He directly used his body's eruption technique, and his speed increased explosively. The distance between him and Liu naturally became shorter and shorter. Mountain Sea. After Liu realized this, He immediately became anxious and panicked. Tell me, what will it take for you to let me go? If you die, our grudges will be settled. Jiang Xi was expressionless. Lai Yu desperately released the energy in his body, wanting to increase his speed. However, no matter how fast he was, the diameter of this area was only 1 billion kilometers. With their level of speed, such a large distance could be covered in an instant. Then, they would have to change directions, which tested their agility. In terms of agility, the green-winged bird was much weaker. It was no match for the purple-striped golden wings therefore. In just a moment, the distance between him and Jiang Xi was already very close. Mountain Xi was wrong. Please spare me, spare my life. Lai Yu begged at the last moment. He had already seen how terrifying Jiang Xi was, and knew that he was no match for Mountain Xi. Die! Jiang Xi's face was cold. Whoosh! A bright sword light burst out from the long sword and pierced towards Lai Yu. Block it! Block it! Lai Yu's eyes widened as he roared. Qi! The dazzling sword light, mixed with the white sword light, pierced through his helmet and head, and then disappeared into thin air. His Tier 8 Supreme Treasure, the green-winged bird, and the remaining 4 Tier 7 Supreme Treasures scattered to the side. Not far away, the warriors who were resisting the white sword light were envious when they saw this, but none of them dared to move. Who dared to move? He killed a warrior who was about the same strength as them with one strike. With such strength, who could stop him if he went on a killing spree? However, Jiang Xi had no intention of killing. He was not a bloodthirsty person. If these warriors did not attack him, he would not kill wantonly. Next time passed. The huge sword of light in the sky was still sending down endless white sword light, and the impact on the mind was constantly increasing. From the beginning, every warrior could easily withstand it, but now some of the warriors were starting to struggle. This mental impact should have reached the limit of a Tao Lord's state of mind, Jiang Xi thought. He was very relaxed. Some warriors were in extreme pain. Although the warriors who could reach the 3rd level were all elites in the army, they did not deliberately cultivate their minds and did not know how to cultivate. It could only be said that as their strength increased, as their knowledge and experience increased, some Tao Lord warriors might have a breakthrough in their mental state and break through to the heavenly venerable realm. However, there were still a few who had a weaker mental state and remained in the Tao Lord realm. Kill! Kill! Some warriors were still fighting while enduring the mental impact. This was especially true for the warriors whose mental fortitude had reached its limit. They were doing their best to kill and eliminate the other warriors. Kill one opponent, kill one opponent. As long as there are 15 left, it will be over. Kill! The sky was dark and the earth was in chaos. More than 30 warriors turned into streams of light and flew at high speed, occasionally crossing each other. In such a desperate battle, they still had to resist the mental impact of the white sword light. If they were not careful, they might be distracted and be hit by other warriors. Some of the weaker warriors began to fall, and the number of warriors began to decrease. Soon, the impact of the white sword light from the sky gradually became stronger and stronger, and the warriors began to feel fear. Previously, they were fighting each other, and the mental impact of the white sword light was only a small threat. But now, the mental impact had exceeded the limits of some warriors. Not good. No. At this moment, the mental impact of the white sword light finally surpassed the limit of Tao Lord, and reached the heavenly venerable realm. The 9 warriors who were flying at high speed trembled. Their eyes went from being awake to being in a daze, and their minds collapsed. Their mental state cultivation was still at the Tao Lord level, so they naturally could not withstand the mental impact of a heavenly venerable. At this moment, boom boom boom. The huge sword of light in the sky shot out 9 dazzling golden sword lights, instantly hitting the 9 unconscious warriors. Before the 9 figures fell to the ground, they turned into ashes, leaving only some supreme treasures scattered in the air. Jiang Xi's eyes flickered. Swoosh! He rushed directly to the 2 nearest piles of treasures. Immediately, some of the warriors in the distance who were preparing to go over restrained the greed in their hearts and stopped, not daring to compete with River Word. Jiang Xi smiled and glanced at them, then turned into a stream of light and collected all the supreme treasures of the 2 fallen warriors. There are quite a lot of treasures. It seems that the third level of the verdant cloud brothel is a good opportunity to collect treasures. Jiang Xi was very satisfied with this unexpected harvest. Almost all the warriors who could make it to the third level had at least one 8th tier supreme treasure. After all, they had all survived the first and second levels. Without some capital, they would not have survived until now. After the mental impact of the white sword light reached the heavenly venerable level, the number of warriors began to decrease rapidly. 27, 26, 25. 21. The warriors fell one after another. Some were killed by the huge sword of light, while others were killed directly by the other warriors. Scram! The voice was like thunder. Jiang Xi flapped his wings and rushed directly to the treasures left behind by a warrior who was killed by the sword of light. It's that warrior Mountain Sea. It's Mountain Sea. Retreat! When the 3 warriors who were charging towards the treasure saw that it was riverward, they hurriedly changed directions and fled far away. If they were closer to the treasures, they might have a chance to get them. However, they were far away from the treasures. Even if they could get them first, they would probably be caught by Mountain Sea. Then it would be a nightmare. Now, among the warriors who were still alive, the 2 who had obtained the most treasures were Jiang Xi and the plant life. Strictly speaking, the plant life had obtained the most. This was because the entire vortex area was only 1 billion kilometers in diameter, and the plant life was already hundreds of millions of kilometers tall. When those branches and leaves spread out, the area they controlled was even larger. With this advantage, it was naturally easier for it to obtain treasures. No, I won't accept this. Die, die. All of you die. The plant life suddenly let out a shrill roar. It was indeed powerful, and its body was extremely large. Even Jiang Xi could not kill it with one strike. However, the white sword light falling from the sky caused a psychological impact, making it more and more difficult for it. Its large body was its natural advantage. Since it had cultivated until now, it had basically been smooth sailing and rarely experienced hardships. Therefore, in terms of mental state cultivation, it was much weaker. Although its mental state was already at the level of a heavenly venerable, it could only be ranked in the middle among this group of elite warriors. No. No. The plant life felt that it could not hold on any longer. Its heart was trembling, and it was about to collapse. It's going to die. It's dying. When the other warriors in the distance saw this scene, their eyes were filled with greed. Because everyone knew that this plant life had collected the most treasures. Jiang Xi was also watching with a calm expression. No, die, all of you die. The plant life roared, and its branches and leaves danced wantonly. Golden light burst out from each branch and swept around, wanting to kill more warriors. However, at this time all the warriors were far away from it, not giving it a chance. No. With a shrill cry, those wildly dancing branches and leaves suddenly fell from the sky. Obviously, its mind had collapsed and it had lost consciousness. Now's the time. Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. He immediately turned into a stream of light and rushed directly toward the plant life. Chapter 675. On the 3rd floor of the verdant cloud brothel, a group of warriors was shrouded by the light screen from the vortex in the sky and restricted to an area with a diameter of 1 billion kilometers. They were fighting each other and trying their best to resist the spiritual impact. As the white sword light's impact on the spiritual impact continued to increase, the huge plant lifeform lost its consciousness in midair, its spiritual impact collapsing. Whoosh! The huge light sword in the sky released a cold purple sword light that landed on the plant lifeform and instantly turned it into nothingness, leaving behind a large pile of treasures. Whoosh! Whoosh! The warriors rushed out at the same time, all of them eager to get their hands on those treasures. Everyone knew that the plant lifeform controlled a large area with its huge size and collected a large number of treasures. It's mine! A 4-horned beast warrior flapped his wings and flew over at lightning speed. Among the many warriors who were rushing over, he was the closest and also the fastest. Whoosh! He flew close to the grassland and instantly collected the treasures that piled up into a mountain. You're courting death. A cold shout was heard. The four-horned beast warrior looked into the distance and sneered. The mountain sea of the White Flame Army? In terms of strength, I'm not as strong as you, but in terms of flying speed, I'm not afraid of you. Humans died for wealth and birds died for food. In front of so many treasures, even ordinary warriors would go crazy and lose their minds, let alone these elite warriors who were not weak to begin with. Boom! A figure whizzed over. You're the fastest? Jiang Xiai sneered. With a thought, he directly used part of the 8-life secret art. His strength increased tenfold, and his speed also increased abruptly. His entire person seemed to teleport as he flew, crossing a large distance in an instant. What? The four-horned beast warrior was shocked. Jiang Xiai only sneered. From the beginning to the end, even when dealing with the stone giant on the second floor, he had not unleashed his full combat strength. A beast warrior with only the combat strength of a first-step heavenly venerable, even if he was a little faster, dared to be presumptuous in front of him? Everyone says you're strong, but I don't believe you. You and I are both Dao Lords. How much stronger can you be? Seeing that he could not shake off Jiang Xiai in terms of speed, the beast warrior roared and pounced, wanting to take the initiative to attack. Get down. Jiang Xiai waved his sword, releasing a dazzling sword light. It was as if he wanted to destroy everything, but at the same time it also seemed to have infinite vitality. The third move of the Mountain Sea Sword's Heavenly Dao Scroll, Annihilation and Rebirth. Voila! The speed of the dazzling sword light was strangely fast. Even though the four-horned beast warrior had already tried its best to cast a defensive spell, it was still directly struck by the sword. Its body fell down uncontrollably. At the same time, the horrifying power of the sword light erupted. The aura of this ferocious beast warrior was reduced by half. How could this be? The four-horned beast was shocked and at a loss. He had an 8th-tier defensive treasure on him, and yet he couldn't defend against it? Die! Jiang Xiai ignored his shock as he waved his sword continuously. Streaks of resplendent sword light whistled out. If he was still on the second floor, it might be a little difficult for him to kill this ferocious beast warrior without unleashing his full combat strength. But now, he had already collected a large number of supreme treasures, and among them was an 8th-rank supreme treasure longsword. Using this long sword, he could easily break through the defense of the dire beast warrior. Rumble! Endless dazzling sword light blanketed the area. The four-horned beast warrior, whose strength had already been reduced by half, was directly submerged. Almost instantly it was annihilated. The large number of supreme treasures that he had collected just now also appeared in midair. It took 2 strikes from me to die. Its strength isn't weak, Jiang Xiai thought to himself. At the same time, he waved his hand and collected the supreme treasures. With so many supreme treasures, Jiang Xiai estimated that it would definitely be enough to upgrade the killing shadow sword to the 10th level. At this moment, the other warriors in the distance were all frightened. They stopped their charging movements and didn't dare to fight for it. The four-horned beast warrior's strength was definitely one of the top warriors who had reached the 3rd floor. In the end it was killed in 2 strikes. Fear. Lingering fear. All kinds of emotions emerged in the hearts of those warriors. This was the first time Jiang Xiai had erupted with such tyrannical strength on the 3rd floor. When he killed Lai Yu just now, he only displayed his speed. Moreover, Lai Yu's strength was already less than 10%. Jiang Xi's true strength hadn't really erupted. This time when he displayed it, it immediately made the other warriors understand how wise it was to be cautious and avoid him previously. Don't provoke him. This was the common thought of all the warriors. Because from the beginning until now Jiang Xiai hadn't wantonly killed. This made them realize that Jiang Xiai wasn't a bloodthirsty warrior. Buzz! The huge light sword in the sky released endless white sword light. The strength of the spiritual impact was getting stronger and stronger. Only 15 can survive. Continue to kill. I will definitely survive. The warriors' attention quickly shifted to resisting the white sword light. They tried their best to resist the spiritual impact. At the same time they tried their best to kill the other warriors. The number of warriors was constantly decreasing. 20, 8, 16, until the last 15. When there were only 15 warriors left in the area covered by the vortex, the spiritual impact of the white sword light had already reached the level of a third step heavenly venerable. It was close to the limit of a heavenly venerable. Other than Zhang Xi, the other 14 warriors were on the verge of collapse. They could die at any time. It looks like my state of mind cultivation has already reached the eternal realm. Zhang Xi was still very relaxed. He didn't feel any pressure at all. That's right. I was in seclusion in the Eight Clouds Pavilion for 1 billion years. I memorized the vast number of legacy stones in the periphery. That is also a kind of life experience. Naturally, my state of mind wouldn't be weak. One had to know that the hundreds of millions of legacy stones in the Eight Clouds Pavilion's legacy covered more than 90% of the primordial realm civilization's foundational legacies. As the saying went, having seen and experienced so much, it would be strange if his state of mind was weak after memorizing so much information. Whoosh! 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 The vortex and the huge light sword in the sky disappeared. At the same time, 15 light pillars descended and enveloped Zhang Xi and the others. The last 15 warriors who survived disappeared from the third-level valley of the Divine King, in the Grey Palace beside the Verdant Cloud Brothel. The 4 commanders were seated on the 4 thrones in the hall. Their eyes were fixed on the floating light screen, watching the scene of the warriors breaking through the levels. Haha, he passed the third level's test so easily. The way I see it, this mountain sea is so relaxed. His mental state should have reached the eternal autark level. For a Tao Lord warrior to have such a high mental state is not bad. Not bad at all, the Black Mist commander praised. And until now, he hasn't used his full strength. I think he's already an invincible celestial venerable. The silver-armored woman smiled. This warrior's swordsmanship, state of mind, combat intelligence. He's at the top of the Tao Lord warriors in every field. He's the strongest Tao Lord warrior I've seen since I became a commander. The blood-armored commander, who had reached the Chaos Origin Divine General level, stared at the light screen with a serious expression. I just don't know if he can reach the top of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. If he can, then we won't let down His Majesty's expectations. The other 3 commanders fell silent. His Majesty's expectations? Over the course of countless years, they had seen countless peerlessly talented Tao Lord warriors. There had been Tao Lord warriors who were comparable to third-step celestial venerables, but none of them had succeeded. They all stared at the light screen, which was currently showing the 4th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. The reward is on the 4th level. I wonder what he'll choose. The 4th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. The 15 surviving warriors were all filled with anticipation. According to the information the Verdant Cloud Brothel had given them, only the first 3 levels were dangerous. From the 4th level onwards there was no need to worry about death. Moreover, there would be rewards. Of course, they also knew that if they wanted to obtain the rewards, it would depend on their ability. There would definitely be a test. Otherwise, the Verdant Cloud Brothel wouldn't have 9 levels. The rewards from the Verdant Cloud Brothel must be better than those from the Quartermaster Hall, right? What are the rewards? The warriors thought to themselves. As the teleportation power disappeared, they were all sent to the 4th level. They immediately looked around and observed their surroundings. Zhang Xi's eyes flashed. He was also observing there were 4 passageways around them. On the walls of each passageway there were trees, corpses, stones, and so on. They all glowed with different colors. It was as if countless lives and objects were sealed on the walls of the passageways. Passageways? Is this level a maze? Zhang Xi thought to himself. There were passageways around him. The 15 warriors, including Zhang Xi, didn't act rashly. They were waiting for the Verdant Cloud Brothel's guidance. At this moment, rays of light appeared around them, enveloping every warrior. Surviving warriors, you are lucky because you have reached the 4th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. From this level onwards you don't have to worry about death. All warriors are forbidden from killing each other. If you violate this rule, you will be executed. Just the beginning of the sentence made the other warriors heave a sigh of relief. They all looked at Zhang Xi in unison. They were no longer as cautious as before. The voice continued. There are many rewards on the 4th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. There are 4 passageways around you, representing 4 different types of rewards. How many rewards you can obtain depends on your own abilities. If you are lucky, you might be able to obtain great benefits. The passageway glowing with golden light is the crafting passageway. It contains the legacy of crafting supreme treasures. The passageway glowing with black light is the body passageway. It contains the legacy of cultivating one's body. The passageway glowing with white light is the primordial spirit passageway. It contains the legacy of cultivating one's primordial spirit. The passageway glowing with purple light is the Tao technique passageway. It contains the legacy of cultivating Tao techniques. Of the 4 passageways besides crafting, the other 3 passageways' legacies will guide you on how to cultivate to become a heavenly venerable. But you can only choose one of them. Your rewards in the passageway will determine whether you can enter the 5th level of the Verdant Cloud Brothel. Choose lucky warriors. The old voice disappeared. Zhang Xi and the others looked around the 4 passageways and thought carefully about the information they had heard. Crafting. We warriors live by fighting. Although crafting is respected, it's not the best choice. I was born with a strong body. I should take the physical route. A ferocious beast warrior entered the passageway glowing with black light. I cultivate Tao techniques and I'm good at cultivating my body. But I've been stuck at the level of Tao Lord for too long. It's too unlikely for me to break through to become a heavenly venerable with these 2 routes. Maybe I can try the primordial spirit route. A short and strong tribal warrior entered the passageway glowing with white light. The mainstream in the dream origin realm is cultivating Tao techniques. But it also shows that Tao techniques are ordinary. I choose. A tribal warrior entered the passageway glowing with black light. The warriors quickly made their choices. But none of them chose the treasure crafting passageway or the Tao technique passageway. Except for Zhang Xi. 8 of the 14 warriors chose the physical route and 6 chose the primordial spirit route. If they had to choose, they would naturally choose the best one. Although the dream origin realm forbade the spread of legacies outside the army, these elite warriors had long known that there were 3 cultivation routes: body, primordial spirit, and Tao techniques. Among them, the body and primordial spirit routes were the strongest. Tao technique passageway? I'd like to see what special guidance the godly king of the dream origin realm has in terms of Tao techniques. Zhang Xi chose the Tao technique passageway without hesitation. Treasure crafting? He would definitely not choose it. Just like what a warrior said, he lived by fighting. Why would he choose to craft treasures? Body? Primordial spirit? Zhang Xi also gave up on these 2 routes. Because the godly king level 8 Cloud's legacy included these 2 routes. He had no lack of them. In his opinion, the Tao technique passageway in front of him was the most valuable one. Before coming to the Godly King Valley, he had overlooked the Godly King continent from the sky. He also learned from Shou Jin that the Godly King continent was the dojo of the Dream Origin Realm's Godly King. With a dojo, it meant that the Godly King's cultivation had reached the peak of the primordial chaos realm. Even in the primordial realm and astral realm of the upper realm, there were only a few Godly King dojos. One could imagine how precious they were. A Godly King level Tao technique passageway? In the future, when I cultivate to the eternal limit, I will need to create my own Tao technique. Although the heritage in this passageway is only at the heavenly venerable level, it might be of some help to me. Zhang Xi walked into the purple light passageway. The 4 commanders of the Godly King Valley looked at the screen and saw that all 15 warriors had made their choices. They also saw Riverward enter the Tao art passageway that suffused purple light. They revealed smiles on their faces. Good choice. You have good taste. The most precious thing on the 4th level of Azure Cloud Brothel is this Tao technique passageway. It is where His Majesty the Godly King put his heart and soul into. Good choice. Good luck. The 4 commanders sighed. Ordinary military experts might not know, but they were Godly King Valley commanders. They had guarded Azure Cloud Brothel for countless years, so they naturally knew. In fact, the peerless figures that His Majesty the Godly King was waiting for were Tao technique cultivators. Although Tao technique cultivators were common, it was much more difficult to reach the limit than cultivating one's body and essence soul. It also represented limitless possibilities. Therefore, when His Majesty the Godly King built Azure Cloud Brothel, Only the Tao Technique passageway on the 4th level was built by His Majesty the Godly King with his heart and soul. It was meant to guide future cultivators. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.